Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. It's our annual show live from Cortiva Coliseum, the site of the 2026 Horizon League Basketball Tournament. The next couple of days, you have an automatic berth on the line. We've had a bunch of teams that have already punched their tickets to the NCAA tournament, and now we start the Big Ten Conference tournament a little bit later on this week, but maybe not what Indiana was looking for. Good morning, Kevin Bowen, and good morning, James Boyd. It's good to see you guys on a bright and early on a Monday morning. And Kevin, the 10 seed for Indiana when it's all said and done. They've lost 5 of their last 6. The 10 seed in the Big Ten. And a sub 500 conference record. I don't think that's what they were looking for when they started the season.
Well, I have to do this because I do it annually when we are here at the Corteva Coliseum for what is a busy Horizon League semifinal day. We're in a gym. It's just us. It's early. Some of you boys have gotten some shots up. Hickory!
And with that, we're underway.
Did you hear the echo?
Coming back. Do it again.
Sounded great there. Oh, I don't know if I want to ruin it.
You just get one? You just got one?
And I'm a little nervous about my voice for 3 hours, to be honest with you.
You all right?
Yeah, Bloomington, 10 seed, yeah. Hell, West Lafayette, a 7 seed, right?
Yeah.
I would say both would fall into the category. Certainly, Purdue will be playing in the month of March, and I think they're still on the 3 seed line. And the big tournament, obviously Indiana, once again, great opportunity, and really wasn't very competitive whatsoever. So, yeah, March Madness here, March Madness up in Chicago for the Big Ten men, and we'll get some NFL March Madness as well here noon today, the legal tampering period. And as we expected when we signed off on Friday, we thought there would be some Colts activity, and indeed there was.
And we'll talk about that because legal tampering, as you mentioned, does start a little bit later on today. And for the Indianapolis Colts, it's the same question this Monday morning as we had when the weekend started. What happens with Alec Pierce, and do they go ahead and get a long deal done with Daniel Jones? Has anything changed in the, 48 hours or so, almost 72 hours since we spoke last?
Well, yeah, Zaire Franklin is now set to become a Green Bay Packer, so that was the big news over the weekend, and the way I look at it was at least you got something. There you go, Mark.
He's on point today.
At least you got something back for him. The Colts received Colby Wooden in the trade, and he is a backup defensive tackle, more of a run stopper than like a sack guy for those who are curious. But they basically swapped the players, and the trade cannot become official until Wednesday, which is when the new league year begins. But that is the agreed-upon trade. You see the Colts move on from one of their defensive leaders. He has been a starter in this, I want to say this defense is maybe 2022, Kevin. So that is quite the change, but a change that I think you foreshadowed when you were asking about Zaire's future last week with Chris Ballard.
Yeah, again, not a surprise, I think, at all, really. There's a lot we can get to with Zaire Franklin. First off, they got a little bit more than I thought they would, James. We had this debate late last week. Is this strictly just going to be a cap move? And, on the cap, you do save, I think it's right around $7 million, if I'm not mistaken. But Colby Wooden is more than just a guy. Was a nice run defender, especially not a pass rush guy, but a nice run defender for Green Bay. And I think the Colts need to continue to improve that part of their football team, even if it's not maybe the most pressing thing. So, they got a little bit more there, and then again, it's a deep linebacker draft class here in 2026. And as you said, James, it'll be the first time since I believe 21 that you'll have someone else wearing the old green dot. The quarterback of the defense, the signal caller on that side of the ball here. So we know at least one linebacker starter will be different. We'll see if it's 2. Jermaine Pratt is a free agent, the veteran who came over mid-season. So. It was time. Zaire Franklin was a great draft pick by Chris Ballard, particularly in round 7 for where he was drafted. But I think you had kind of reached a point. And, there are a lot of factors. Cap savings, dip in play last year, all of it kind of added up here. And, again, I expect much more flurry now that we're into the week of the NFL offseason.
All right, so as we sit here on this Monday morning, I'll ask you guys this. What is your confidence level that Alec Pierce can remain an Indianapolis Colt in percentages? What do you think it is as we start this
Percentages?
day out? Yeah. What's your hope?
100%. You know, that's what Colts fans want me to say, but I don't know. I think it's a legitimately 50-50 type of thing, but to not give a cop-out answer, I'd say it's a 60% chance that he returns to the Colts. Not a report, just my guesstimation, because I do think if all things are equal, all things being money, he would like to be back here. Now, when it comes to QB stability and winning culture, the two things he mentioned on the Kay Adams show last week, the Colts can't really offer that, but perhaps they can get a little bit closer if they reach a long-term deal with Daniel Jones, which would go a long way towards, I think, trying to keep Alec in Indianapolis.
Kevin, what's your percentage on being able to retain Alec Pierce?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking a very similar ballpark to James. I'll go back to what I said last week when we talked about the Kay Adams interview. If you look at Alec's quote, particularly if you just read it off of a transcript, you would sit there and say to yourself, there's no chance in hell he's returning to the Colts. The Colts don't check any of these desires. But as I've said with Pierce all along, he is a huge believer in Daniel Jones. And I think that is something that cannot be overlooked. Now, again, how competitive will the Colts be as we get closer to noon? Will we get to noon? You know, we've already seen some moves here in the wee hours of the morning, and, you know, that I think is the big question of, let's go back to my butchering of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally from last week. What's the order of operations? Does Alec Pierce say to the Colts, you need Daniel Jones done long term before I commit? Or is it vice versa? Like, what is that process here? I think that's a big question as we sit here on this Monday morning.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to watch. There's no question about that. Some happenings over the weekend. Big trade. Max Crosby did get traded by the Raiders to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I believe it was for, 2 first-round picks, 2026, 2027. So that needed to happen. So we'll see, presumably, Fernando Mendoza join the Raiders. They'll have some draft capital for the future to help him out and build the franchise around him. And then for Max Crosby, you get a chance to chase Super Bowl, potentially with Lamar Jackson. It was time for him to move on.
You guys surprised that trade package was a little less than Sauce Gardner?
I think NFL writing world was, as I looked at stuff yesterday, everybody was talking about who you give up 2 first-round picks for, and then Sauce was on that list, and you kind of went, And again, I go back I wish I could criticize it more now, but at the time, James, if I'm honest, I was excited with that because the Colts were rolling, the offense was rolling, they needed some help on defense, and it felt like that window had opened, and then almost from the second they made that trade, everything started to fall apart.
KB, I think it's about age. I'll agree with you there, Jeff, as well. I wasn't as critical of the trade. I definitely was a little skeptical at the time, but I could see the vision. But Sauce being 24 and Max Crosby being, 29 is probably what makes that deal a little bit less than what you would get for a Sauce Gardner. Even though defensive end, I still think is the more premium position.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Yeah, I think he's 28, 29. Obviously, we're kind of mincing numbers there. But I do think if you are really getting into the weeds of a trade of that magnitude, I do think a top-flight pass rusher impacts the game more than a top-flight corner. I think both of them matter, to be fair. But if you are really going to get into the weeds of that, and obviously at the time, I don't think Max Crosby was available, if you go back to mid-season and all of that, but boy, certainly respect what Baltimore's trying to do after missing the playoffs. And you want to talk about a team that, again, the Colts feel like they're one of these teams that, hey, we missed the playoffs last year. It's going to be different for us. Well, Baltimore's one of those teams. Kansas City is one of those teams sitting there now with 2 first-round picks. We'll see how that goes. Cincinnati with Joe Burrow getting back to health. So just kind of a reminder of where things are at in a loaded AFC.
There's no question about that. Great high school basketball over the weekend as well. James, I know you spent 2 nights in a row over at the Mill. You and I were there together with our buddy Jim on Friday night and watched 2 great games. And then it was topped by Carmel and Fishers on Saturday night. How shocked were you that Carmel was able to pull that upset?
I wasn't all that shocked because they played them tough earlier
It was
this
a
year.
3-point game earlier, right?
Yeah, and Fisher survived. But what an atmosphere. Shout out to AJ from Carmel, the kid who let me sit next to him basically on the baseline. I got there a little later than I wanted to, covering the Zaire Franklin news. And so I get there 15 minutes before tip-off. The place is packed. I find some spot right there on the baseline, and he let me sit next to him and yell in his ear for a few hours. So that was pretty fun. And also shout out to Isaiah and his two sons who were there. These kids, I guess they had like a game, maybe like a Sunday championship for their youth league the next day. So they were soaking it in, and their eyes were pretty wide, like, oh, my God, I get to play on that same court as them tomorrow. So it was a lot of fun, and they enjoyed the morning show. Shout out to those who get up with us early and enjoy our, small, segue into high school hoops every now and then.
Man, Sectional 8 always delivers. It's funny, when HSC had Fishers down at half on Friday, I was like, I got to dial up Greg Ragshaw and Pete Smith here on Friday night and watch Jason Garner Jr. make some big plays there to kind of stave off the crosstown rival. But man, Sectional A just always delivers. I mean, you guys can speak to it. Being there, that building has had some epic games as well. And Ben Bremer, is that the kid who hit the left wing three?
Yeah.
Shout out there. Roundabouts greater than IKEA, right? Carmel over Fishers.
I'm telling you, man, that place was so loud. I mean, that's what you live for right there in high school basketball.
And I was wondering, too, as I looked at it, standing room only crowd at the Mill, you also start to look around all the other sites where the sectionals are taking place. On that Friday night, say about in between, right at the end of maybe the first game, the second game crowd starting to come around as well. I don't know. What do you think the total attendance for high school basketball was around the state of Indiana on Friday?
Boy.
Just
very
insane, right, Kevin? It's got to be close to 100,000, right, around the state?
Oh, I guess I have no idea how many sectional sites there are. I'd probably say over 100 if you add it all up. But, yeah, popcorns and hot dogs galore. Yesterday we had some great March Madness, and we'll see if this building can replicate it here coming up today and tomorrow. Again, 4 semifinal games. You'll have the women starting at noon today, a couple afternoon games, and then the men at night. Ironically, the men's 1 seed, Wright State, is led by Michael Cooper, who cut down the nets last year with Jeffersonville and Trey Singleton and company in the 4A state title game. So the Indiana flavor alive and well here. That should be a pretty well-attended game. Wright State, Northern Kentucky, they beat Doug Gottlieb and Green Bay yesterday to advance here. So again, semifinal day, live from the State Fairgrounds, Corteva Coliseum. And I'm very glad that Barbasol here is a sponsor because your boy hasn't shaved in weeks.
I was going to say, you getting ready for the hockey playoffs coming up in a month, or what's going on? Did you start it during the Olympics?
Maddie was like, you look like it's COVID again. I was like, oh, boy, that's not a compliment.
Here's the key, though. Does she like the beard?
I don't
think that was a compliment.
Didn't get the impression she did.
Okay. I did. Wasn't sure. Some wives like the beard, some don't. So that's what's going on a busy day. We will talk to Nathan Brown with all the NFL stuff going on coming up top of the hour, and then we will talk some Horizon League basketball throughout the course of the show as well. As always, the text line will be up and running at 239-1070. We'll check in on some of those. I think, Kevin, you're already answering some texts, aren't you?
Yeah.
Coming in early today. I like that. We'll get to some of that, and we've got the check down coming up in a minute. Good morning, Mark Dykton. How you doing all by yourself back there today?
Good morning. It's dark in here, I'm not going to lie.
Well, you've already dropped a timely Packers suck, so you're in good shape.
Poor Zaire.
Ready to go.
I thought they liked him. Why would they send him to such a terrible team?
All right. Quick timeout, check down on the way.
Indoor and outdoor concrete. That is Galaxy Concrete Coatings online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com. Think garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. They are the best in the business, and they can help you out today. Residential workplace, again, online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com. I think the first thing you want to know is the style, the look. Does it match what you desire here from a workplace or residential standpoint? And I think you'll find that certainly at galaxyconcretecoatings.com. Other things of note, manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime, and also very efficient process. At our house, new sidewalk, new front porch. Tyler and Preston, they're in and out in about 24 hours, so definitely appreciative of that. So, again, it's galaxyconcretecoatings.com. It's indoor and outdoor concrete, garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Contact them today.
Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Good morning, and we are live from Corteva Coliseum, where the Horizon League basketball tournaments, men and women, gets underway a little bit later on today on the State Fairgrounds property. We'll tell you more about that coming up in a minute. But along with James Boyd and Kevin Bowen, I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton back at the studio. And guys, NFL legal tampering starts in just a couple of hours. And the big question for the Colts, can they get a long-term deal done with Daniel Jones? And will Alec Pierce return after getting a big deal at wide receiver? What do you think, James?
I think that there's a lot to be done between now and then. I would think the order of operations, to steal a little line from Kevin Bowen, would be that the Colts have to reach a long-term deal with Daniel Jones before they strike a deal with Alec Pierce.
And I'll talk to you now, Kevin Bowen. Big trade over the weekend for the Colts. Zaire Franklin is now a Green Bay Packer. In return, they get a defensive tackle named Colby Wooden from the Packers. What do we know about Colby Wooden?
Yeah, 4th-round pick a few years back. This will be the final year of his rookie contract. Again, much cheaper than Zaire Franklin, so hence a big part of why you saw that move, about $7 million on the cap savings. Did start for Green Bay last season. By all accounts, a much better run defender than he is pass rusher, so don't think of this as any sort of pass rush move. Think of it more as a rotational depth, good run defender. A little bit younger than Zaire Franklin as well. So, the front seven with DeForest Buckner getting up there in age and unfortunately injury, you just need insurance. Grover Stewart getting up there as well. A little bit of depth up front here. Most importantly for the Colts, they needed to get cap compliant. Again, legal tampering begins today at noon, so that means agreed to terms will be the popular phrase you see around lunchtime. And then 4 o'clock Wednesday is when the new league year. So the Franklin deal will get processed then. You got to wait till the new league year begins. But yeah, I think 7 Colt starters can hit free agency here, can talk to other teams starting at noon today. So quite a few on that list so far. None of them re-signed.
And the big deal over the weekend, Max Crosby, the defensive end, the game wrecker for the Raiders, on his way to play with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens missed the playoffs last year. They've got an MVP quarterback. They've been known for their defense traditionally, but it wasn't that great last year. How big a help is that going to be?
We'll see. I do think that Baltimore defense has struggled in recent years. They're not the Baltimore of old. So can you just get off the field and give yourself a chance to try to extend that, hopefully, championship window if you're the Baltimore Ravens alongside Lamar Jackson?
All right, that all starts later on today with legal tampering. We'll see what kind of some of the NFL teams decide to do there, including the Colts. In the NBA, the Pacers late last night lose their 9th straight game in Portland. Scoot Henderson, a season-high 28 points. I almost forgot Scoot Henderson was in the league, partly because we don't see Portland that often, but he has not quite lived up to his number 2 selection of a couple of years.
Well, the Pacers keep on losing, and lose in convincing fashion. They seem to get run out of the building quite often lately. What is this, 9 in a row?
9 in a row, but they've lost the last 6 by an average of 20 points.
And I thought I saw Eddie Garrison's stat last night where they haven't led in the second half of, 7 straight games maybe?
Yeah.
Which is just because they are – this is the healthiest they've been all year. Out west, correct me if I'm wrong, haven't the big 3 played every game, Neesmith, Nembhard, and Siakam? Still waiting on Zubats, of course, but yeah, so they'll have one more. Sacramento, who is also right up there in the old tank standings. That'll be Tuesday night before they return home.
Yeah, and Pascal Siakam did score 22 points to lead the Pacers. Jay Huff had 5 blocked shots. If nothing else, he's certainly replaced the blocked shots from Miles Turner, hasn't he, James?
We're grasping at straws here, Jeff, but statistically, yes.
They wrap up their 4-game road trip out west in Sacramento on Tuesday night. College basketball, Indiana's in more trouble in the NCAAs after a 91-78 loss to Ohio State on the road this past weekend. They will play Wednesday versus the winner of Penn State Northwestern. Purdue will get another day, but Purdue is the 7th seed, so it wasn't exactly a rock'em sock'em into the season for either team, Kevin.
No, obviously for Indiana, it matters much more for their lives in the NCAA tournament. For Purdue, boy, a team that just can't guard, period. Wisconsin shot the hell out of the basketball. And it's been certainly a question mark for Purdue now, especially over the last month and a half. They've been a 500 basketball team, which is wild to say here, since about mid to late January. And then obviously for Indiana, they got to go up to Chicago and win multiple games. Weirdly, it didn't seem like didn't seem like any bubble team did a whole lot of substance here coming up over the weekend, so that'll be something to continue to watch for Indiana as they hope and pray, and they still need to do something, i.e. beat their rival for a second time. I guess they got to get through Northwestern first, right? Isn't Chris Collins kind of IU's daddy?
As of late, I would say definitely. Better ACT score, too.
Yeah. Butler got a win over DePaul this past weekend. That raises them for now to 500 pending the Big East tournament, which also starts later on this week. In auto racing at IndyCar, Joseph Newgarden wins in Phoenix. He won there the last time IndyCar was there in 2018. Held off Christian Rasmussen there. Alex Palou finished 24th after a crash early. Been a while since they've been down in the desert there, Kevin. Kind of like that.
Yeah, and I glad to see Alex Plo's okay, but I'm glad to see that I spoke it into existence when I said he needed to not be dominant. Thank you, Renus VK, for that.
Just a heat check on it.
Just
right?
to try to open up the field. That was wild, though. Rasmussen is crazy, and the willpower thing was pretty entertaining to watch as well.
All right. Carmel knocked off Fishers to end an undefeated streak for Fishers on Saturday night. Pike and Mount Vernon going to play each other at Southport coming up this week. High school basketball is rolling right now. James, you were right smack in the middle of it all weekend
long. Yes,
long.
I was. It was great. Down goes number 1 undefeated Fishers to Carmel. Fishers is 83-3 over the last 3 seasons. Their last 2 losses have been in the playoffs. They won the state championship 3 years ago, but their last 2 losses have been by 1 point each in the playoffs. How about the standard they've set? So I know we love the underdog story, but there is no David without a Goliath. So shout out to Fishers for setting a great standard over there.
All right, a couple of other college notes I want to backtrack to. Michael Lewis out at Ball State. That was a little bit surprising. I know it hasn't been a great last season or two, but I think a lot of industry experts were surprised, kind of feeling more like Michael Lewis just hasn't gotten the proper resources to be competitive over there in the MAC.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I knew MAC resources, but I think what hurts mid-major teams like that is when you have a program in Miami, Ohio, for example, or even Akron, have the type of success or seasons that they have had, then all of a sudden, like-minded teams in the conference start saying, hey, wait a minute here. So, yeah, resource-wise, I mean, that's probably the age-old question now. If you're a coach and you get fired, you just blame it on resources?
I would.
I mean, it seems to be kind of the easy thing, right?
Later on tonight, we are here live at the Corteva Coliseum. Men's tournament, Northern Kentucky will play Wright State. Detroit goes up against Robert Morris. These are the teams that have punched their ticket already. Long Island in the NEC, Tennessee State in the Ohio Valley Conference, Northern Iowa in the Missouri Valley. Big South is going to send High Point, and the Atlantic Sun has been won by Queens, so they are all on their way to the NCAA tournament. And anything else you guys wanted to throw in before we get going?
Yeah, shout out to Rich, Waste Management. He gets up early, keeps everything kind of clean around the city, and he listens to us every morning. Ran into him at the grocery store yesterday, and I told him I'd give him a shout out for making sure our city stays nice and pretty.
Hey, James is popular out there at the high school games, man.
Well,
it's like going to a game with Elvis or something.
Rakestraw put him on TV a few times. They were talking about James. Yeah, I saw he was kissing babies, signing autographs.
Keyword kissing babies, not having them.
Well, I certainly hope.
All right. Coming up top of the hour, Nathan Brown, Indy Star, going to stop by. We'll talk about what's going on with the latest in the National Football League. We'll give you a primer for that coming up next. It's the Fan Morning Show live from Corteva Coliseum at the Horizon League Basketball Tournament, as we do every year on the first day of the tournament, and we'll be here all morning long at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mr. Rickard, I heard you had a birthday over the weekend.
I did another one. According to my kids, my 148th.
There we go, baby.
I was literally asked by them at our little birthday dinner, what was it like, Dad, when you left the house and ran into like a brontosaurus? What happened then?
Sounds like a Max Bowen question.
I said, I don't know. Everything was in black and white. I was just trying to stay ahead of the game.
Happy birthday. How about that?
Thanks, man. That was fun. We had a good dinner the other night. It was a lot of fun. And just hanging out with family. That's kind of my birthday thing these days. I like that.
There you
Get
go.
everybody together. You know, with 2 kids in high school, Kevin, you'll find this out one day. Nobody's ever home all at the same time anymore. So whenever you get the family together in one place, it's always a good thing.
Well, you just force them. Hey, I pay for your existence. You'll show up because it's my birthday.
Now I feel a little bit like the SpongeBob meme of looking out the window at you guys hanging out for your birthday on Friday night, and I was just stuck at home.
That's all right. No, we hung out Friday night. My birthday was Saturday, so we had a good time. But I'm telling you, the mill was rocking on Friday night. I'm sure it was Saturday, too.
It was rocking. Your boy had courtside seats because I'm a VIP like that, or I'm just skinny enough to sit there. So whichever you want to, prefer.
Hey, also, I want to say good morning to Cam Blankenship this morning. Cam always getting up bright and early with us. He did it every day when we were out there at the Combine. And now he's here at the Corteva Coliseum where the Horizon League tournament is about to get underway. We got some shoot-arounds. They're going to start taking place in a few minutes, so you'll hear some basketballs bouncing and hitting rims in just a few minutes. But, of course, a lot of people are going to be tuning in and out of the station all day long, Kevin, like, what's going on with the Colts? What's it sound like? What's this legal tampering thing going on now? You can re-sign your own guys at any time, right? You don't have to wait for anything there. But as far as signing other free agents, does that take a while? How's that work?
Well, again, starting at noon today, agreed to terms will be the phrase that you see. So, yeah, I guess just to set everything up for today, from a free agent standpoint, James, feel free to add anybody to the list. But I think when you call people starters for the Colts, Daniel Jones, Alec Pierce, Mo Alley Cox, Braden Smith, Nick Cross, Jermaine Pratt, Kwity Paye. So those are your list of starters that are bound for free agency. And as of right now, the Colts haven't re-signed anybody. Blake Grupe, I think, was a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken, or like exclusive rights free agent. So, that one wasn't even an unrestricted free agent. So, yeah, starting at noon today, you can talk with any other team. And, again, when we say legal tampering, that pretty much means free agency starts. Technically, it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday, but starting today at noon, you will see players agreeing to terms with opposing teams. James, I'm trying to think of the Colts' history. They haven't been maybe super active, but I want to say Travarius Ward and Cam Bynum kind of fell into this window, right? Weren't they in the Monday, Tuesday last year?
Yeah, I believe it was pretty busy because I want to say Bynum was first maybe.
That sounds right.
And then Travarius Ward was maybe a day later or something like that. So pretty big news. And I would say the Colts, they have, from my opinion, the entire league kind of on notice, what they're going to do at quarterback, what they're going to do at wide receiver with Alec Pierce. And I think the league is trying to wait to see what they do before they proceed with subsequent moves. I mean, if you're the New England Patriots, you're probably waiting to see, can we actually go get a guy like Alec Pierce? Will we be willing to pay the price he wants? So from what I understand, Alec Pierce, had he been tagged, would have been about $27 million a year. And everything that I've been told, talking around the league, is that he's probably going to get that or more on an annual contract.
That's going to be the number to watch for, too. And whatever the Colts decide to do, Alec Pierce is it's really an incredible story. The last 2 years to average more than 20 yards per reception, to get the yards that he has based on just the number of receptions that he has. But I think the biggest thing is people, I talked to a bunch of people when I was at the Combine the first couple of days, too. People see him starting to develop more than just a long game. Like his ability to go up the last year and a half of football and get the contested catch, or the way that he catches almost every ball that's thrown to him in a very tight window, I think that's got teams as excited as anything, because this is not a small guy. I mean, he's a 6'3" speedster that can get behind anybody, but at 6'3", he could become a little bit of a red zone threat too, don't you think, James?
Well, I thought because of his complexion, he was sneaky athletic. That's basically what they ever said.
Is that what that was?
Certain types of wide receivers, but no, he's a freak athlete who makes the 50-50 balls, 80-20 balls when it comes to coming down with the contested catches. So, yes, Jeff, I think that you're right, and we'll see again what his market looks like and what the Colts have to offer, presumably after they try to reach a deal with Daniel Jones. I know that, Albert Breer yesterday, Kevin, Sports Illustrated, their national reporter, been around for quite some time, said that the number he heard that Daniel Jones wants is 50 a year. And 50 a year is very high for a guy who played half a good season last year.
Yeah, I think you look at the transition tag for Jones. It's $37 million. That is the 1 year hit right now. Again, as we've talked about a lot last week, the Colts want to get him done long term because they don't want a $37 million cap hit on their books here in 2026. I think the guarantee number will also be a big thing. I've talked with you guys about this a lot here over the last couple of weeks. To me, I think those guarantees need to be in year 1 and year 2. So when your first-round pick pops back up, 2028, you have Daniel Jones off the books if you need to pivot and make another move at quarterback. So I think that guarantee would be kind of the big thing to keep an eye on, and probably some of the hold-up in this. Obviously, the Jones camp, if you believe the Albert Breer report, clearly views him in a much, much higher light. So, yeah, it almost seems like the Colts dictate a lot of how today could unfold. They are kind of a big league-wide domino in all of this with the top quarterback and probably the top wide receiver here getting ready to hit the open market.
Who are the teams that would pay, that you think to yourself, man, they're desperate, but they've got a lot of other pieces? Who are the teams that would pay $50 million for Daniel Jones? I'm trying to think of who would pay.
I don't know.
And how long would that contract be at $50 million?
I have no idea, Jeff. But I will say this. I don't blame anybody in Daniel's position for asking for more money. I mean, what did my mom always tell me? Like, the worst thing they could tell you is no, and you're in the same position. So for those saying, like, why would he even ask? Why not? I mean, he has an incredible amount of leverage, maybe not enough leverage to get $50 million a year, but the Colts do not have a backup plan. You told us all offseason that he was your guy, so now you got to figure out what number that is to make sure that you make good on your word.
It's going to be crazy to watch this play out over the next couple of days. I also want to go back, for those just joining us, the big trade over the weekend, and I don't know what that does to the market. It just kind of is what it is, Kevin. But Max Crosby getting 2 first-round picks to the Raiders, and he will be on his way to the Baltimore Ravens. And we see this more and more. It seems like once a year or so, maybe twice, you'll see a big-time guy get moved for 2 first-round draft picks. It's not uncommon. It's probably not real common. But, man, that's a lot of capital to give up. But then you always say, in the case I go back to DeForest Buckner, who was a first-round draft pick that the Colts traded for, even 2 first rounds, if you're getting a total stud that you know is dependable and you know what you're getting and you know what he's going to deliver, isn't that better than just taking your swing and hoping that you get the right guy with a number 1 pick, with a first pick?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could debate this till
I personally like having the known quantity.
The cows come home, but, Buckner has been a really, really good player, right? And how many playoff wins have the Colts had during that time?
True.
If you would have spent that 13th pick in a great quarterback draft class that year, would we be talking about a different story? Again, hindsight's very 20/20, but that was one of the best quarterback draft classes we've seen in years. So, again, the Crosby trade, I find it, very comparable to the Sauce Gardner trade. And if you look at Baltimore, their quarterback position is much different than Indianapolis's quarterback situations. I think that's where you see a big, big difference in those 2 trades. Before we go any further, I did want to go back to, again, the news cycle of Friday and whatever. We can hit the Zaire Franklin trade from Saturday. But hat tip to Ryan Kelly and his retirement from the NFL. Ryan was always gracious with his time on our airwaves. Mark, I can think specifically back to multiple training camp conversations we had with Ryan where, he was not afraid to say anything and extremely candid. And, very emotional at times in describing, everything his family went through and the tragic loss of their young daughter and, what the Irsay family did for him throughout so much of that. And, I can think back to that post-game locker room scene, a couple of years ago when he, I think he knew his time here was probably ending. And, again, very emotional inside of Lucas Oil Stadium, knowing that he had likely played his last game with the Colts, certainly his last home game, and was in Minnesota for 1 year. And unfortunately for Ryan, I think some of the concussions had started to pile up as well. So 10-year career for him. And hell of a ride. First-round pick at a time where the Colts desperately needed some stability at center. And he provided that for quite a while. Ironically, he provided the center stability, and then the quarterback stability all of a sudden went out the window once they had locked him up for Andrew Luck. So shout out to Ryan Kelly and his wife Emma and the retirement.
Yeah, he'd been with the Minnesota Vikings, and to tie it all together too, is Minnesota a team that would pay $50 million for Daniel Jones?
Well, first I do want to say, again, kind of echo what Kevin said about Ryan Kelly, someone who I could always depend on to give me the real and not the fake when it comes to the media and quotes. But as far as who would pay Daniel Jones $50 million, you can keep asking that question, Jeff. I have no idea. That is what Albert Breer reported. And, again, I don't blame anybody for asking for more. It just comes down to what gets real. I think the rubber has to meet the road to a certain degree later today for the Colts and subsequently the rest of the league.
And for those who haven't been paying close attention, right now on the transition tag, Colts are on the hook for about $38 million this coming year, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's where we're at as far as the Colts are concerned, and we'll keep an eye on that all day long. It is March. March Madness is coming. We got the Big Ten men's tournament coming up this week, and, of course, we won't see Indiana play until Wednesday. They're the 10 seed. They'll get the winner of Tuesday's Penn State-Northwestern game, and then, of course, you have to wait for a couple of iterations before we find out who Purdue is playing on Thursday. But the end of the season for both of them, Kevin, not exactly what they were looking for. And I know Saturday on Senior Day up in West Lafayette, man, Wisconsin just they did what other teams have been doing to Purdue lately. They just shoot the cover off the basketball from three-point range. And we asked the question last week, how much of it is bad luck where teams are just shooting great from three-point range against Purdue, and how much of it is Purdue they just can't defend. I mean, both teams got up into the 90s in that game on Senior Day Saturday.
Yeah, and again, it's not like it's an outlier to your point. Wisconsin had one of the greatest shooting days in program history, but so did Illinois back, multiple weeks ago. So did Michigan inside of that building.
When Indiana got them at Assembly.
It's happened now a lot, frankly. So that, to me, is going to be a huge, huge question here, not only in the Big Ten tournament, but coming up, in a week from today, we're talking about Purdue in a bracket format. You want to sit there and say, oh, it's a team that's been there, done that. Purdue offensively is unbelievable. I mean, you got no worry offensively, but they just struggle so much in rotations. As soon as somebody gets beat, it is scramble mode, and, they just don't have a lot of kind of like the 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", like, kind of interchangeable guys that maybe could guard multiple positions. And I think that is something that really, hurts them. So, from a winning 4 games to get to Indianapolis, something like that, I just don't trust their defense whatsoever. I have full trust in their offense and their ability to win shootouts, but you put so much pressure on you when that's the game that you play. And that certainly was one inside of Mackey on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and also, did you guys see any of the Michigan State game, speaking of Big Ten, yesterday?
Yeah, I saw Jeremy Fears kick somebody in the you-know-what again. So.
Again, from, like, the backwards up kick.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. It's kind of weird that he's always involved in some of that. So, starting to think there might be some Grayson Allen type of vibes there. Hopefully he can get those figured out.
Because Michigan is looking like a nasty basketball team right now, and they were beaten by Duke not too long ago. So, I mean, you start to see the 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 teams that I think truly have a chance to win the whole thing here in Indianapolis coming up at the Final Four. But as good as Michigan has looked, the way Duke kind of handled them a couple weeks ago, man. And you see Houston continue to do their thing. Arizona's a really good basketball team. It's going to be wild. The second weekend of the tournament, I think, is going to be wild.
For sure. I do want to pivot a little bit to the college basketball / Pacers world. We saw that Caleb Wilson, the star freshman from North Carolina, will be out for the rest of the season, ends his freshman career, probably ends his North Carolina career due to a broken thumb that he suffered in practice while dunking, which was unfortunate because he already been out because he had broken a bone in the other hand. So with that in mind, KB, how maybe disappointing is it to not be able to evaluate him even further as we get down to the biggest games of the year.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I think I told you guys, several weeks ago, I'm a huge Caleb Wilson fan. I'm super intrigued by his potential. I think he maybe has some of the most upside of anybody in that, top 4. I think he's really skilled. Can pass, can rebound. I think he can provide some interesting athleticism on the defensive end of the floor. So, yeah, I think it is a bummer because, maybe not as finish of a prospect. So I was intrigued to see just kind of his growth continuing here throughout the year. But, boy, the Pacers are doing their part. I mean, they continue to lose. They continue to lose pretty convincingly, honestly. And right now they are in a very good position to get the top odds, which just to remind everybody, the top odds are still just, 50, I think it's 51% maybe or 52% at a top 4 pick. So, and ironically, I believe the stat is the team that's had the worst record in the NBA each of the last 3 years, none of them have finished in the top 4 of the standings. I believe they all have had the 5th pick. So, yeah, you could say, oh boy, or you could say, I guess somebody's due, but the Pacers continue to do their part here. Is this Youngstown State on the floor right now as we are here at Corteva Coliseum?
I believe so.
I want to say the colors are right, but I can't see any of the front of the jersey. But
now, I'm always confused. So colors are what, Jeff?
red and black.
And their nickname?
Penguins.
Now,
No.
I'm not trying to be racist to Penguins here, but how many red and black Penguins are there?
Hey, you get some sun. Go on spring break, get some sun. Who knows?
Oh, my gosh.
It's the most Jake Query thing I've probably ever said in my life, trying to talk about the color of Penguins here. But we are live at Corteva Coliseum. March Madness continuing. Today's a busy day, noon and 2:30 of the women's semifinal games. And then we mentioned it, James, you were at, right? Did you go to that 4A state final game last year, Jeffersonville and Fishers?
I actually did not. I streamed it, though, and it was pretty special.
Michael Cooper for Jeffersonville. We talk so much about Trey Singleton and him now at Northwestern. Michael Cooper, a great player on those teams. He's walked in here to the Horizon League, and he is Wright State's leading scorer, and they're the 1 seed in this tournament. So that will be the nightcap tonight. Wright State in the first game. Robert Morris, who won the league title last year, gave Alabama a lot to handle in round 1. They're the second game. So a great venue here at Corteva Coliseum, State Fairgrounds. Not a bad seat in this house, and be a busy day. And then tomorrow you'll have the title games inside of this building. Women's game at noon and the men's game at 7.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Kelly Ford, our Senior Associate Commissioner, is going to join us at 8:30, and then the Interim Commissioner overall, Christine Newman, is going to join us at 9. But coming up, top of the hour, Nathan Brown going to stop by and give us the latest on NFL free agency with the illegal tampering starting a little bit later on today. And we, like I said, people are going to be tuning in and out of the station all day long, Kevin. And I know if anything major happens with the Colts, you and James both be posting something online as soon as possible. So keep an eye on all those things as well. But while we all watch to see what happens with Alec Pierce, I know that's probably the first domino. Is there anything else in a minor way you expect to see happen today for the Colts?
Is it the first domino or is it Daniel Jones?
I think it's Daniel Jones, honestly,
Probably.
because you can't really do anything until you get a long-term deal done with him, because you want to be able to spread that cap hit out over multiple seasons. There's just not a feasible way to get a long-term deal done with Alec Pierce, in my opinion, if you're already on the hook for $38 million for cap hit-wise for next year for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I do think it is Jones, just because Pierce, in a way, almost seems a little bit more, hey, I need to know what the quarterback is doing. And not that Jones doesn't care what Pierce is doing, but I also think there's more suitors for an Alec Pierce than there will be for a Daniel Jones. So, I mean, you want to talk about the next 4 hours? We're 4 hours and 8 minutes away from legal tampering starting? I mean, oh boy. Bleep or get off the pot. I mean, that's exactly what this morning is like. I mean, it is a massively pivotal morning for the immediate future of the Indianapolis Colts in regards to Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce.
Yeah.
And I can't stress that enough.
And here's what you could be looking at, too, as the Colts try and get their way to a longer-term deal with Daniel Jones to maybe appease someone like an Alec Pierce. There's always a team out there, Kevin, that's going to call Alec Pierce and his agent go and make a big offer, whether it's $28 million a year, $29 million or something like that, and they go, but I got to know right now because I got to move on if this is not going to work. Is this something that works for you guys? And if the Colts aren't done with Daniel Jones, that agent and Pierce might go, hey, good quarterback, they're offering me the money I want, I got to take it, right?
Yeah, and again, I'll go back to what I said to lead off the show. I don't think Alec Pierce, if things are competitive with the Colts and other teams, I could very well see him coming back here. I don't think he's going to look at, say, oh, wait a minute, you're offering me 33 annually and the Colts are offering 32.5. I'm running to the 33. I don't necessarily think it's that cut and dry for him. But, yeah, I mean, you talk quarterback stability. He holds Daniel Jones in a much different regard than I think most, but still, I assume he is going to want clarity and a known answer on that. And as of 7:54 here on this Monday morning, that remains up in the air.
Well, we're going to talk about it all day long and keep an eye on those transaction wires. And Nathan Brown is going to be doing the same thing. He covers the Colts, and he'll give us his thoughts on what he's hearing coming up in just a second here. We'll take some of your feedback throughout the day at 239-1070 because I know there are a lot of people very interested in what's going to happen. And a lot of people with big opinions on what the Colts should and shouldn't do, too, which is that's part of being a fan, man. That's the best part, right?
I mean, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, especially when the team hasn't had much success in recent years.
All right, so we've got all that to come. We are live from Corteva Coliseum on the fairgrounds as we're getting ready for the Horizon League men's and women's basketball tournaments. It'll be taking place here all week long. We got Youngstown State's women on the floor right now going through some shoot around, and then later on tonight, two men's games that people are looking forward to: Northern Kentucky against Wright State, Detroit against Robert Morris. And you made the observation earlier, Kevin, too. Northern Kentucky, Wright State, that might be some pretty good crowd in here tonight for that game.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky, obviously, from a geographic standpoint, not too bad of a drive there. And Wright State perennially has had a pretty good program, and they've got a little bit of local flavor. I think they got a Fort Wayne kid as well that plays a little bit here. So should be some good crowds. Purdue-Fort Wayne is one of the women teams playing. I think they're in the noon game today. So they've had a nice recent run here in the Horizon League. So busy Monday and Tuesday here at Corteva Coliseum as we saw great theater around several of the mid-major tournaments yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that Navy-Boston U finish. That was epic.
Saw a highlight.
The Boston U kid going behind his back for that game-winning three there. That was March, baby.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch all the video clips you get from high school games around the country with the same type of atmosphere. It is March, and we are in the middle of it. We've got NFL on our horizon as well. See what I did there? Right there? NFL on the horizon.
Look at that.
Huh?
Look at that.
Should we give him credit for that?
Man, that's a birthday smooth effort from Jeff Rickard right there.
I love this. Birthdays that last for 3 days, man. I'm into that.
Yeah.
Now. Let's go.
How many candles were on the cake? Did you get cake?
We can't count that high.
All right.
We can't count that high.
Fair enough.
We had ice cream cake and a little celebration at the restaurant too.
There
so
you
it was
go.
Good.
You got to indulge yourself.
Yep. We're going to be talking about the National Football League. Big day in the league. A big day for the Colts. It comes your way next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I'm much too fast to take that test. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We have made it to March 9th. It means a couple of things here. We're live at the Corteva Coliseum on the fairgrounds as Horizon League basketball tournament gets underway as they do every year. We're always happy to be here. So we're watching Youngstown State's women go through their shoot-around paces right now. And, of course, today, March 9th, means Legal Tampering Day in the National Football League, boys. And the Indianapolis Colts have a couple of things to watch. And to your point a minute ago, Kevin, is it possible that everything that happens today, kind of the linchpin might be Daniel Jones and the Colts coming to a long-term contract deal? And everything kind of trickles down from there?
Yeah, I think that's, again, the order of operations, the old phrase we've talked about quite a lot. What comes first, Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce? I assume it would be Jones, but we got 4 hours to await that news item.
All right. Well, somebody else along with you guys will be watching every single thing that crosses the ticker is Nathan Brown. He, of course, covers the National Football League and the Indianapolis Colts for the Indy Star. He joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. Happy March 9th, Nathan. You're going to have a lot to do today, I think, sir.
Yes, next couple days, but certainly today is a very big one. You're right.
What do you expect to happen as the day unfolds for the Colts?
I don't know with any degree of certainty. I certainly think, kind of like what Kevin was saying there, if a deal gets done with Daniel Jones and the Colts can swoop back in with Alec Pierce before he gets too far down the road with anyone else, I have to like the Colts' odds there. But I just wonder, even with the transition tag, where they technically have, they have Daniel Jones' rights for next season. I just don't know if that is enough certainty for Alec Pierce to want to agree to come back here on a long-term deal. I imagine the Colts will be aggressive money-wise because they know that they're going to have to be with the league's interest. But I just don't know. I don't have a great degree of confidence if Daniel Jones continues to stay on the transition tag when we've got teams out there around the league with some pretty interesting quarterbacks for Alec Pierce to catch passes from. If the Colts will definitely be able to hold on to him, but so those are certainly the first two pieces of the puzzle, and then you probably look toward the defense and see what the Colts can put together there.
So, Nathan, I know the Colts are technically over the cap right now, and you did some reporting over the weekend saying that they're trying to work towards getting under the salary cap. One of those moves to perhaps alleviate some pressure was to get rid of Zaire Franklin and replace him with Colby Wooden, the defensive tackle from Green Bay. What did you think of that trade, and perhaps were you surprised, as I was, that the Colts were able to retain an asset?
I was surprised I guess I was surprised initially that they got a player. Certainly, we were thinking, I think probably a lot of us were thinking some sort of a late round draft pick to get a guy who I think in a different situation, I think could really shine in a rotational sense behind Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. I think that's about as good of a haul from a trade standpoint as I think you could hope for when you've got Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner on the last year of their deals. Both are on the other side of 30. So this gives you a chance in Colby Wooden's final year of his rookie contract to see what he can do, see if he's worth bringing back next year and is capable of filling more of a starter-type role perhaps in 2027.
Get Nathan Brown from the Indianapolis Star. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Nathan, I guess no one really cares about anything other than Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce, but maybe I'll ask you a question that's not related to those two. What is the news item non-Jones or Pierce related that you are curious about? Is it another in-house free agent? They've got 5 other starters about to hit free agency here in a few hours. Is it a position on the open market? Is it now, the search for a new linebacker with Zaire Franklin headed to Green Bay? What is something non-Jones and Pierce related you're curious about?
I'm really fascinated to see, after all the links that we've seen between the Colts and Trey Hendrickson, both around the trade deadline last year and as we have gotten closer to free agency this offseason. If there is actually anything there, I think he would be, if healthy, and again, I know he went through a core muscle injury that kept him off the field more than half a year last year, but if he could arrive in Indianapolis and be healthy, I think he could be a transformational piece of that defense. You probably are only going to get a couple more really good years out of him. I think he is also 30, so he's not one of these younger, maybe longer runway type defensive ends that you've got on the market here. But I think he is the most proven, the most polished, and the type of player with a game who can impact things on the defensive side. When you have someone like Latu, who is, who the Colts coaching staff think can be a great player, but is someone who, as of his second season, is still just kind of waiting to make that big leap, and we'll see if he can do that this offseason. But bringing in someone like Trey Hendrickson, that would be a massive move. Now we just have to see if they can figure out a way to make the money of it all work.
Again, we're talking to Nathan Brown, Colts reporter from Indy Star. Him and Joel A. Erickson will both have great coverage for you there. Nathan, the question I keep asking myself and I want to pose to you is, can the Colts make a decision on Michael Pittman Jr. before they know what happens with Alec Pierce? And I say that because, in theory, getting rid of Michael Pittman Jr. by releasing him or trading him would create a ton of salary cap space to perhaps help out when it comes to retaining Alec Pierce. But you don't want to get rid of Michael Pittman Jr. if you also don't know if you're going to have Alec Pierce. So where do you kind of see that whole thing unfolding?
It's a great point. I don't think you can take that risk. I know I can't remember if I was reading a tweet or a story from another reporter this morning talking about how players can't technically sign offer sheets until we actually get to that Wednesday at 4 p.m. Timeline when free agency opens, and that there have been some moments in the past where a player might agree to terms, say, on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning, and then actually end up changing their mind, whether that's to, initially agree to return to a team and then end up leaving or vice versa. And I just don't know that you could, given everything that is at stake, given what this franchise has been for the last decade, I just don't know that you can afford to completely cut loose Michael Pittman Jr. until you have everything signed with Alec Pierce. The Colts technically right now, I think you even mentioned this on X last night, James, even with that trade for Zaire Franklin, that's not something that's going to be official until the league year begins. So the cap savings that they would have generated from that trade, the Colts are still technically somewhere around $6 million over the salary cap. So over the next 48 hours and change, they're going to have to shed that. That's not a massive number. You could do that with a simple restructure or two. So I don't know that they necessarily have to go the Michael Pittman Jr. route yet in order to get salary cap compliant. But they're going to have to make some moves if they're going to want to, sign Alec Pierce, potentially sign a big-name defensive end. One way you can do that, of course, is to get Daniel Jones on a multi-year deal, and then all of a sudden that $37.8 million from the transition tag is not necessarily all on the books this year, and that changes lots of things.
Nathan, I'm just curious, when you look at the rest of the division, whether it's Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, anything that bears worth watching for Colts fans there today?
I think the biggest thing you look at is I see Houston bringing back a couple players on defense over the weekend. I think you have to recognize, if you're the Colts, that these, Tennessee or the Texans and Jacksonville included, these teams probably aren't going to get worse, at least notably worse over the offseason. So if you are a team that's consistently finished behind those two teams over the last couple of years, you have to make big leaps. That's what, bringing in a guy like Trey Hendrickson can do. And certainly you cannot afford to lose Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce. So that's when I think of those two teams, I think of them as the benchmark for this division. And if you are the Colts, you can't just, kind of improve incrementally over the next couple days and this week in free agency. You have to take some big leaps and big swings that might involve taking some risks on a really big deal to someone like Trey Hendrickson, or to another young defensive end that maybe hasn't totally proven themselves but has been in a little bit of a lesser situation. They're going to have to take some risks in order to get where they want to be, and it's also not going to come cheap.
All right, Nathan, always good to talk to you, man. I know you're going to be busy today. Try to enjoy it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
That sounds great. Thanks, guys.
There he is. That is the man, one of the two men that cover the Colts for the Indy Star. He and Jolie Erickson. If we can pry him away from some Milwaukee Brewers spring training and World Baseball Classic, he'll be busy today too.
I'm sure he's enjoyed the World Baseball Classic for sure. That guy is a baseball junkie.
James, you think the new quarterback of this defense was on the Colts last year?
Meaning, was it Jermaine Pratt? And
probably. I don't think Jalen Carlisle would fall into that boat, but I'll just mention him because at one point he was a starting linebacker for this football team, and he is a draft pick of the Ballard regime, not the Lou Anarumo regime. But will they go outside of the building to find the new green dot guy with Zaire Franklin gone?
I think there's a possibility, mainly because Jermaine Pratt was a midseason pickup, so I don't want to act like he was perhaps your first option at that position. So the question to me, Kevin, is all about, would you lean more towards a veteran presence in free agency, someone who's done it at this level, or would you really go out and find a starting caliber linebacker perhaps early on day one, or not day one, day two of the draft in the second or third round, and you say, okay, whoever we draft, that's our linebacker of the future? I'd probably lean towards the free agency market because it's more of a proven commodity. And so, yeah, I do think there's a possibility that Jermaine Pratt could be brought back, but I also don't want to act like he is like their only option or their number one option. There should be some decent options out there.
No, but I think we should note you could call him Jermaine Anarumo, given his history with Lou.
That's a very good point you make.
And, that history, I think, is
they
always
go back maybe 4 or 5 years, I think, at this point.
Right.
We count last year.
Cincinnati days, yeah. Which I think it's always worth pointing that out, when you get hell into any professional sports. But I think Anarumo showed it in his first 12 months on the job. He clearly has an affinity for his former players. Obviously, that could get into a Trey Hendrickson conversation very, very soon here, depending on how many fireworks and how much cap space the Colts are able to, clear up coming up for today. We should mention the Zaire Franklin trade. Colby Wooden is who they netted in that trade. Did start 16 games for the Packers last season. I kind of view him as a rotational defensive lineman here in Indy, known much more as a run defender versus a pass rusher. So do not think of him at all as this edge pass rush guy. Think of him more as a quality depth piece. But again, much more of a I stop the run than I get after the quarterback.
And edge continues to be something that the Colts will be looking for. And given the salary cap constraints that they have right now, are they just waiting on the draft to find an edge rusher at this point in time? What do you think happens there, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I understand where that thought would come, but I think you have to try and create more cap space and make a move in free agency. Again, we can debate Trey Hendrickson, but Adafa Owe and Boy Mafe and Jalen Phillips. I mean, there are some other edge rushers here. It actually is a little bit more of a, I don't want to call it a crazily deep position, but there's a little bit more substance there than I think in a normal free agency period. But, the Colts have got to do a lot here in the next certainly 4 hours and, especially 48 hours if they're going to check all these boxes. Because, we haven't even got into some of the other stuff of, Braden Smith's a free agent, Nick Cross a free agent. In a normal offseason, those would be a little bit more pertinent topics.
And I'll ask again, we talked about it last week, but let's say the Colts have plans to loosen up a bunch of money, which I know they do. Does it come down to the situation that they're in? Do we make an offer for a Trey Hendrickson, or do we have to use all that money on Alec Pierce?
I think you want to retain the player that you drafted and who was healthy last year. I know Trey Hendrickson, ideally in a vacuum, is probably the more important player given how his career has unfolded, but he's also coming off hip surgery and he's going to be in his 30s. So I wouldn't, want to put all my eggs in that basket before I retain my guy. Now, Mark, do we have the breaking news sounder queued up at all?
Oh, he's going to have that.
Breaking news from 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So this just in from all of the top insiders, but the Dolphins, to no one's surprise, plan to, and the team actually just announced it themselves, to release Tua Tagovailoa. So
Official.
that's another quarterback on the market officially for teams to pursue in free agency. So perhaps that is a good thing for the Colts because other teams might be saying, hey, we would rather go after Tua, which should be cheaper than $38 million a year now, than Daniel Jones. So perhaps that keeps that number at $38 million for the Colts. It makes it easier for them to reach a long-term deal with Daniel Jones, assuming that another quarterback on the market diminishes his value a bit when it comes to having suitors.
You think people thought that breaking news was going to be Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce?
They got
I
excited for a minute there.
I certainly gave him the pump fake, didn't I? Sorry about that.
That's a big domino though too. That's another quarterback out on the market.
It ain't
now,
big
right?
enough out here. They're like, we knew that, James. He was garbage. Well, I'm just letting you know that it's officially official.
I'm seeing some great pump fakes here out of the Youngstown State Penguins as they just wrapped up their shoot around.
They
Some
did
very quality fundamental work here.
It did. They one of the things they finished up with those. Everybody tried their shot from half
Yeah,
court.
shout
That
out to number 12. She
got it.
She swished it.
There you go, James. Your number 12 got the half court shot to end the practice there. So you were worried about her delivery just a moment ago. Kind of a little hitch like Phillip Rivers hitch in there in her jumper.
Yeah. The jumper was not how you would probably teach it, but it went in.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will be talking a little bit about the Horizon League basketball tournament. As Kelly Ford's going to stop by. We'll continue to monitor the NFL situation for you all day long. In the meantime, let's check it down, Mark Dyke.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Legal tampering, they call it, Kevin Bowen. Interesting name. Do we think there's been tampering going on behind the scenes with agents and back channels and stuff like that the entire time?
A lot of tampering downtown Indianapolis. What, last week? Two weeks ago at the NFL Combine. So,
I
yes.
don't know what you're talking about.
Noon today. Get used to the phrase agreed to terms because you will see it a whole lot. The madness begins coming up here in a little over 3 hours.
Alec Pierce, Daniel Jones, those are names to watch for the Indianapolis Colts. Alec Pierce, of course, a free agent. Colts could lose him outright. Daniel Jones, at least, with the transition tag, if somebody did come and make him a big offer like the $50 million that Albert Breer reports he and his team are seeking, you could at least have the opportunity to match that, right?
Yeah, but as of right now, they both could leave, which is not ideal. You want to gain a lot of ground in that department in the next few hours.
And you had some breaking news just a moment ago in the National Football League regarding another quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, this was like saying that today was going to be Monday. Tua Tagovailoa was released by the Dolphins. They'll carry a huge dead cap hit over the next couple seasons. But the point is, another quarterback on the market, does that diminish the market that Daniel Jones would have had, and does that ultimately help the Colts re-sign him?
By the way, Drew from Avon says that buzzer going off when you mentioned Tua, perfect timing. Nobody wants Tua.
Yeah, they don't want him here. But my point is that maybe there's somebody else wants him, and that keeps Daniel Jones here on a long-term deal.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that for you all day long today. Meanwhile, the Indiana Pacers have lost their 9th straight game late last night. Scoot Henderson scored 28 for the Portland Trailblazers as they get the victory. The last 6 games that the Pacers have lost by an average of 20 points. Pascal Siakam had 22 last night. Jay Huff had 5 block shots. They'll wrap up the 4-game trip Tuesday at Sacramento. They have the second worst record in the league by a half game behind only Sacramento at this point in time, Kevin Bowen. But again, there's no guarantee that they'll get one of those top 4 spots. That's just better odds for you.
Correct, yeah. So, again, the top 3 teams, that would be a 52%, I want to say, chance at a top 4 pick. I think it's 14%, maybe the number 1 overall pick. So they continue to do what a lot of fans want to see them do. It's lose. I don't know if people care. They're losing by a lot. I don't think they've had a lead in the second half of a game in like the last 2 weeks, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I did not stay up for the last 3 quarters of that basketball game last night, James Boyd. I was
Lord,
out.
the last
I fell
3?
asleep, man. I tried, but it didn't go very well. Also, college basketball, the Big Ten tournament starts later on this week. Indiana will be a 10 seed. They're in a little bit of trouble now. If they want to get into the NCAA tournament, they lose at Ohio State 91-78 over the weekend. They will play Wednesday against the winner of Penn State and Northwestern. And then Kevin Bowen, Purdue, the 7 seed. This is a team that was at times ranked number 1 early in the season in the country, and now they're the 7 seed in the Big Ten. Not exactly the way their conference schedule, what they were thinking when the season started.
No, not at all. No one thought that Purdue would go 500 over the final month and a half of the Big Ten season, or be a team that lost 5 games inside of Mackey. Was that the final total this year? Now, you look at any sort of bracketology, they're still kind of on that 3 line, so, they are going to be, a very good seed when the NCAA tournament gets underway, but defensively just so many questions, especially when you're playing, some skilled teams that can stretch the floor from all 5 positions. For Indiana, that'll be, 6:30 on Wednesday, and, oh boy, as much as they're probably thinking, hey, if we can, win that game and then beat Purdue, maybe with a week bubble this year, beat Northwestern doesn't seem like a guarantee for Indiana.
No, Northwestern has given everybody problems the last couple of weeks, too. Also, college basketball, Horizon League, right here in Corteva Coliseum. That's why we're here today, as we are every year on the opening Monday of March Madness. They have their league tournament starting today. Northern Kentucky against Wright State tonight in the first game of a doubleheader for the men's, and then Detroit plays Robert Morris in the nightcap tonight. So we kind of look forward to that and see what's happening there. We can also tell you that these teams have punched their ticket to March Madness. There are 31 at-large, or not at-large, but automatic bids on the line this week. And right now, Long Island, Tennessee State, Northern Iowa, your team, Kevin, High Point, and Queens are all in the tournament at this point.
High Point's got 30 wins. They seem to be a team some people are going to be talking about. So, we'll see here coming up tomorrow night. So, last year we mentioned that Robert Morris gave Alabama everything they could handle there for quite a while in the NCAA tournament. Some different players on this Robert Morris team, but they've got a chance. And, again, the local connection, Michael Cooper, the freshman from Jeffersonville. Certainly we remember him quite well in the state championship run last year for them. He is the leading scorer of the number 1 seed, Wright State.
Also, locally at Ball State, Michael Lewis is out as the head coach at Ball State. That happened over the weekend. Surprised by that one at all, Kevin?
I mean, maybe a little bit. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know the MAC resources that are available to Ball State compared to other teams. But, I think at times when you're in a mid-major conference like that and you see Akron or Miami of Ohio have the success that they have had here in recent years, whatever, people are going to get antsy with that. So, I know there are a good amount of injuries that Michael Lewis had. And by all accounts, people rave about him from a coaching standpoint. So we'll see if the assistant route is where he goes back to. What was it, UCLA, Butler, Nebraska maybe? I think that's where he was recently. So shout out to the Jasper native.
All right. Also, high school basketball. Carmel on Saturday knocked off undefeated Fishers in their sectional, so they'll advance now to this coming week in high school basketball. And Pike will take on Mount Vernon at Southport. That might be a game I have to go see. What do you think, James?
Yeah, that's a big one. I know that's one. People are asking me if I'll go to there. I mean, I got a couple options this weekend for games, so I'll decide a little bit later. But, yeah, it was a great atmosphere this past weekend, and I'm sure it'll only get better.
You were at that first game, weren't you, James? Luke Ertl against Pike?
Yes, I was. And it went to overtime. Caitlin Clark was also there.
It was an epic game.
CC.
All right. One NBA note I want to throw in, too, before we move on from basketball. Did you see Jason Tatum? He's been back for 2 games, and he's already lighting it up. He had 20 and looked terrific last night as the Celtics beat the Cleveland Cavaliers.
He looks really good. I mean, if that is something you want to look at as a Pacers fan and draw some hope from, feel free, because for a guy to have the same injury as Halliburton, he looks pretty amazing. And honestly, Boston is scary, man.
Joseph Newgarden wins in Phoenix over the weekend. He won there the last time IndyCar was there in 2018. Held off Christian Rasmussen. Alex Palou finished 24th after a crash early in the race. And for you, Kevin, one of my favorite tournaments of the year, Bay Hill Invitational, Arnold Palmer's course tournament there. Akshay Bhatia holds off Dane Berger to get the win yesterday. Pretty good golf. I've watched a few holes of that one.
Yeah, some great shot making from Akshay there late. He has had a heralded career. Shout out to Indy Ignite. 13-2, 7 straight wins for them. They continue to be a force up there at the Fishers Event Center. So fun atmosphere. Check them out this spring as well.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll check in on the Horizon League. They get going with some basketball already, just a couple of hours away there. We'll talk to one of their big cogs in the wheel, Kelly Ford, coming up next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Mark, and we might be on the back end of the winter weather, so your heat is likely still on overnight. But it's not too early to start checking in on that air conditioner of yours in the house and get ready to go when the consistent spring weather and we head into the summer months begins. Your HVAC system, it's gotten a workout all winter long, and the switch from the heat to the air conditioning can always be a taxing one. So you want to be out ahead of things, don't want any issues. Do what I did. Give the folks at Love Heating and Air Conditioning a call today. Don't delay. Call them today. 317-353-2141 is the phone number, or you can check them out online at love-hvac.com. Multiple options. You can talk to a customer service rep, set up a house call, get someone out there to your property, make sure everything is good. Maybe you need a tune-up. Maybe you need a repair. Maybe you need a full-blown replacement like I needed a few years ago. That's okay. They will take care of you. You can go over financial options as well. And they installed brand new Heil equipment in my home, and we've never looked back. We're loving it. We're seeing the dollars roll off those monthly bills. It's always a good thing. John and Chris Love, they're fourth-generation owners. They'll make sure you're a satisfied customer just like the Dykton household is. Plus, Love Heating and Air Conditioning is family-owned and operated, Central Indiana and servicing Indianapolis for over 100 years. 317-353-2141 or love-hvac.com.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There's no better place to be in March than a basketball coliseum, and that's where we're at today. Corteva Coliseum on the State Fairgrounds grounds, and we got the Horizon League in here starting their men's and women's basketball tournaments today, and we're looking forward to that. But it is March, and that's what we do. We're talking about the high school you and I saw this past weekend, James. We saw a lot of college basketball in the last week as well, and now we continue that. And Kelly Ford joins us from the Horizon League right now, and Kelly is the Senior Associate Commissioner. That just means you got a lot to do every day, doesn't it, Kelly?
Well, we all do, right? We're a small staff, but yeah, this time of year, all hands on deck for basketball, and it's a lot of fun for all of us.
I know you've been here since 5:30 this morning already, and you won't get out of here until probably 11 o'clock tonight, right?
Oh, we'll be here past 11. Our final game tips off at 9:30, and that's assuming we don't have overtime or anything in the first game. So we're looking at after midnight, but again, this is what we live for, right? I mean, in the Horizon League, we're a basketball league, men's and women's basketball. That gets a disproportionate amount of resources from both our league staff and our membership, so everybody knows that. This is what we live for, and we're ready for it.
Kelly, you guys added a day this year here at Corteva Coliseum. So, again, semifinal day today, 2 women's games, noon, 2:30, men games, 7 and 9:30, like you just said. But you guys added a couple games yesterday. What was the thought process in extending this to kind of a 3-day state fairground affair?
Yeah, absolutely, and we have a hashtag, March Starts Here. A week ago, we had our play-in games on campus before the first round. We were the very first of the 31 Division I conferences. We were the very first to tip off our basketball championship, so we're really excited about it. And the reason we added a day to the Corteva Coliseum rounds is since we came here in 2020, all we have heard from our student athletes, our coaches, our administrators, our fans is more teams need to have this experience here at the Corteva Coliseum at our neutral site. And so we've worked over the years with our membership, and this year was finally the year that we were able to make it happen, bring 2 additional teams. So we had 5 men's, 5 women's, had 2 great second-round games yesterday, and we're really looking forward now, as you said, Kevin, to have our semifinal Monday. This is what we've had each of the last 6 years. And, of course, tomorrow, Championship Tuesday, 2 teams will punch their tickets to the NCAA tournament.
Kelly, when you look at what the Horizon League has been throughout the years and where you all have tried to evolve, what has that been like? Because the landscape is never the same in college basketball, and it's changing year to year.
It changes rapidly, and I would say, James, it's changing even at a more rapid pace now than it ever has before. And that's not just college basketball, that's college athletics as a whole. I heard you guys talking about kind of the roster turnover. That is a real thing. I mean, you're seeing membership changes from one conference to another happening at a faster rate than it has in the past. So what we've really tried to do, I mentioned we're a basketball league. What we have really tried to do is put our money where our mouth is. We allocate resources. We have financial incentives in place. We have an improvement plan, an excellence plan, all of these things as a part of our Horizon League strategic plan to build towards excellence in men's and women's basketball. And we've seen progress in recent years. You look at our KenPom conference average net rank. In the last couple of years, we've gone from as low as 27 out of 32 conferences at the time to as high as now number 19 just last year. So we are seeing significant progress there on the men's side, capped by, Oakland knocking off Kentucky in March Madness just 2 years ago. Robert Morris gave Alabama all they could handle last year in a 2-15 game. They had a 1-point game with just a few minutes left. And then on the women's side, Green Bay has been our 2-time defending champs. They get a 12, a 13 seed, which is exactly where you want to be if you're coming out of a one-bid league, a league that only gets one team in the NCAA tournament. That 12 seed line is where you want to be. Give yourself a chance on the women's side to truly get a neutral site game in the first round, because if you're a 13, you got to be at the site of that number 4 seed.
Yeah, one of the things about this conference has become so competitive, right? I mean, you look at the top of the conference standings, obviously Wright State is up there, but you got, I think, 3 teams with 20 wins or more this year. And even yesterday, you had Wright State, who was a lower seed than Green Bay, knocking off Doug Gottlieb's team. So, I mean, this is anybody could walk out of here tonight, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about on the men's side here for the evening games, Northern Kentucky, who, as you mentioned, knocked off Green Bay yesterday, set up a massive rivalry game in our league against the number 1 seed tonight, Wright State. Those 2 teams always travel well to Indianapolis. That's the 7 o'clock game. We'd love to see folks out of the Corteva Coliseum, but if you can't make it, we're on ESPNU. And then on the other side, Robert Morris, our defending champions on the men's side, a 9:30 game. That'll be on ESPN2. They're taking on Detroit Mercy University, who, Coach Monty up there has got that program rolling. This is their first time advancing to Indianapolis on the men's side. So that's going to be a great game as well there to close the night here at 9:30.
That's a great Kelly Ford, again, the Senior Associate Commissioner here, in Indy native. Shout out to his mother, who always was a very difficult grader for Ryan Bowen back in the day, Cathedral High School. Shout out to the great Lisa Ford.
Was it a difficult grader, or did he actually deserve the grade he got?
Well, probably the latter, yeah. Ryan much smarter than Kevin, although he did fail art class, Lisa Rupp, back in Cherry Tree Elementary. So, Kevin, the better artist in the family. Kelly, you are on the NIT selection committee. I find that awesome. I find that really cool. Put all your NIT jokes to the side. What is Sunday like for you? We all watch 6 o'clock, the bracket reveal. Walk us through Sunday evening for you as a member of the NIT selection committee, and we know the NIT can mean a whole lot for mid-major programs especially.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm thrilled, Kevin, yes, thank you, to be on the NIT selection committee this year. It's actually my first year as a committee member, so I have not been in the room and gone through the selection weekend process just yet, but I've talked to many committee members certainly that have, and it's a little bit of organized chaos, right? Just like it is in the NCAA selection committee room too, but the difference for the NIT is we have to wait, just like everybody else in the entire world, to see who were those last few teams that made it into the NCAA tournament, because our field then starts with those that missed out, and those first 4 teams out have the opportunity to be the top 4 seeds in the NIT if they choose to participate, which certainly we hope they do. But yes, the NIT is a great event. I'm really excited to be on the committee this year, and Kevin, it's really pertinent for Indianapolis specifically because it culminates, as it has each of the last couple years, with the semifinals and championship games. The semifinals this year are going to be at Hinkle Fieldhouse on Thursday, a Final Four weekend, and then the championship is part of the much larger event. There's a triple header. Yes, it's Easter Sunday, but on that Sunday between the men's Final Four semifinals and championship game, that Sunday, there's a triple header at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We will have the men's Division II national championship game, the men's Division III national championship game, and then to cap it all off that night, the NIT championship game. It's going to be so much fun.
So walk us through that week. I think we go slam dunk 3-point, don't we, at Hinkle as well at some point that week?
Yeah, there are so many activities and activations going on from a game standpoint, because I know that's kind of drives the bus here. You have the NIT semifinals at Hinkle on Thursday, April 2nd. Then on Friday, there's all sorts of things to do downtown, Fan Fest, all sorts of
open practices for the Final Four teams.
Open practices at Lucas Oil Stadium, absolutely. Leading into at Lucas Oil Stadium, semifinal Saturday of the Final Four on the 4th there, and then the 5th, as I mentioned, is that triple header at Gainbridge. And, of course, it all culminates on Monday, April 6th with the national championship. We did this, 5 years ago now, but it looked a lot different because it was in the bubble. And so this year it's our first men's Final Four with full capacity fans since 2015, if you can believe it. That's a long time for this city to go without hosting a full fan Final Four. And, of course, it's not too long that we have to wait. Women come here in 2028, and the men will be back in 2029 once again.
By the way, could I get some shaving cream? I see Barbasol is the excellent sponsor here. Speaking of COVID, my wife looked at me yesterday and goes, "You look like it's COVID all over again." And I don't believe that's a compliment. So is there any chance I could get a bottle before I leave?
We can absolutely get you a bottle up here, Kevin. Yes, so Barbasol's back. This is the 3rd year they've been our title sponsor. We really appreciate them. They've been a great partner, and I know they've had a lot of positives as well being associated with our basketball championship, and we certainly appreciate them. So, yeah, we'll bring some bottles up here for all you guys.
I won't shave in a bathroom here at Corteva Coliseum. Beautiful bathrooms. I just used it, by the way.
You got your playoff beard going, too.
Hey, the last time I think I was fully clean-shaven, Kevin, we talked about high school a little bit earlier. That was the rule at Cathedral High School. You need to be clean-shaven. That's probably the last time I was totally clean-shaven. If I shave my face now, my wife kind of looks at me like, I'm not sure what's going on there. So let's keep her happy.
He's got young kids, too. So,
that's right.
The razor's not the most important thing.
I'm the only guy here that's used any kind of shaving cream in the last couple of months.
I hope it was Barbasol.
You know what? We do have a Barbasol. There we did have a can of Barbasol.
High school memories at my high school. If you didn't have the clean face, we had to run because my dad was like, "Well, I'm not shaving your face. You're 16." So I was in great shape back then, doing a lot of down and backs in practice for not getting rid of the mustache. But one last one for me. When I'm looking at Green Bay on the women's side, they've set the standard for you all, and I know Jenna Geyer has been the player of the year, and deservedly so. I mean, she's been rock solid for them. But what do you think it does for the rest of the league, when you have a team that kind of rises above the rest, that forces everyone else to kind of realize, okay, if we want to compete with them and then beyond, we got to raise the level of play as well.
Together we rise. That's the Green Bay motto there. I don't even know.
Shout out
if
to
James,
the Phoenix,
I don't even
baby.
know if James knew that, but that was well played. You're right. Green Bay historically in our league, they win at a very high rate. They are the two-time defending champions. So I think that's good. That's good for the league to have a program that has that kind of sustained level of excellence for them, certainly, but for everybody else in the league too. And there's a target on your back, and that's what that's what Green Bay tells us. They talk about, hey, when you were playing Green Bay, everyone's getting up. It's a big game, and they got to expect the other team's best shot. So it's going to be awesome tonight, this afternoon, noon, ESPN Plus, the semifinal game against Purdue Fort Wayne. That's a rivalry in this league. Purdue Fort Wayne is a very, very good team. Played very well yesterday in their second round game against IU Indianapolis, and so it's not going to be easy for Green Bay, but they are the number one seed, and they're the number one seed for a reason. And then you look at the other semifinal game here at 2:30, also on ESPN Plus, Cleveland State, who's won our league as recently as just a couple years ago, and Youngstown State, the number 2 seed this year, was just in here for a shoot-around moments ago. It's their first time as a women's program in Indianapolis for these rounds. So we've got storylines abound. It's going to be so much fun to see who comes out on top, but I can promise you it's going to be great basketball and so many other things for fans to do here at the Corteva Coliseum around the games. You can get tickets at horizonleague.com/Indy or show up at the Coliseum and you can get them right there at the box office.
Look, I know you're a busy guy today. We just talked about how long you're going to be here and how many games you got to keep track of and dealing with people like us all day long. But you are a big sports fan, Indy native. You're going to be checking that phone, see what the Colts are going to be up to all day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as an Indianapolis resident, as an Indy native, I'm always wondering what the Colts are doing, perhaps more so recently than ever before. But yeah, let's see, right? I mean, I'm an eternal optimist. What else are you going to do if you're not cheering for the Colts? So we'll see if they can bounce back this year. It was a great start to the season. Obviously didn't end the way we wanted, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, man. Go have fun today, all right?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks for
Kelly
being here.
Ford, he is doing a
Eternal
terrific
optimist,
job.
Boy, if I could take that and bottle it up and spread it around to the folks in my mentions and on social media right now, I'd be a rich man.
It's March. You see some of the drama we had around those mid-major tournaments? Everybody's optimistic right now, baby.
Well, I would say I'm more on the basketball side than the football side, but shout out to Kelly for stopping by.
Right state in the building. Shout out Michael Cooper, Jeffersonville.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will check in on the text line, get some feedback on the Colts and what people are expecting and hoping for today as we look forward to legal tampering all day long in the National Football League. Tell you about it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
me. Money in the bank.
Got money in the bank. Yeah. Shout out what you drink. I got money in the bank. Yeah. Shout out what you drink.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning and welcome to Legal Tampering. You can actually call agents and players and try to make deals. You can't sign them for a couple of days yet, but as you guys have pointed out, a lot of this tampering may have taken place over dinner tables at St. Elmo's and places like that during the NFL Combine, James.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's an open secret that you're talking to teams. I mean, how else do you agree to terms on a new deal, let's say at 12:01 p.m. today, when technically that is when things just started. So not a big deal to me, just kind of one of those things where we all agree to ignore what the obvious is.
Yeah, and Kevin, everybody, of course, wants to know what's going to happen with Alec Pierce, but we might have to wait to see what happens with the quarterback, Daniel Jones, first, because one of the things Alec Pierce was saying last week is he wants to go to a place where there's a stable, long-term quarterback situation, and right now it's only a one-year transition tag for the Colts and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I guess just to kind of go a little bit where that thought process comes for me is this. Yes, as you accurately pointed out, I think Alec Pierce really wants to know what is going to happen with Daniel Jones. And, James, you can kind of walk us through a little bit of this. Teams can start to make offer sheets for Daniel Jones. They can start those discussions as early as noon today, correct?
Correct.
So if you are Daniel Jones's camp and you really want to try to drive up the asking price of the Colts, you might want to sit for whatever, a little bit of time to see what those offer sheets, to try and act like there is some interest there. And if that means Daniel Jones and his camp are waiting, then does that mean Alec Pierce and his camp are waiting? And then, okay, what's the domino effect off of that? Then does that mean the Colts have no other choice but then to sit and kind of play that game, because that's what these players and these agents might want to do? And then where are you at from a pursuing other free agent standpoint? Again, in an ideal world, the Colts would go out this offseason. They would re-sign Daniel Jones to a multi-year deal. They would do the same to Alec Pierce, and they would make a splash at defensive end. Well, a lot of what they want to do is up to other people, and I think that's what makes this a bit difficult. They're not sitting in a situation right now like, whatever, let's insert a random team here, like the Chargers, for example, where you know you have Justin Herbert. You don't have any quarterback question. You have a ton of cap space, and as soon as noon hits today, you can start to agree into terms with other free agents. So I think that's what makes this a very curious time for the Indianapolis Colts, and I really can't recall the last time it has looked like this.
Yeah, I would agree. And then on top of that, just to add a little wrinkle to this year's free agency period, this from NFL Network's Tom Pelissero yesterday, Kevin and Jeff. He said that for the first time, teams may conduct a one video or one phone call up to an hour directly with the free agent. And you can choose up to 5 players to do that stuff with. So my point is, how many teams are trying to directly call Daniel Jones or directly call Alec Pierce as opposed to in years past when this was done by your agents? And, you know, when you're talking directly to the player, does the player feel a little more oomph in the pitch? Do you feel a little bit more wanted? You know, the agent is usually the liaison to say, hey, let me just, you know, here's some numbers out for you, here's some team structure things out for you, and bring it back to you, whereas now we can take it straight to the source, and does that sway anybody anymore?
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch today. I hope it's a lot of fun. Let me rephrase that. I hope it's a lot of fun to watch, Kevin. Could be misery by the end of the day too, right?
Well, yeah, I guess it could be as well. Boy, these final few hours, I mean, it is – the Colts are usually not in this sort of position. And, you know, they arguably have the best quarterback on the market, the best wideout. I would make an argument players like Alec Pierce don't often get to the open market in today's world of free agency. And obviously if he wants to, he can get to the open market. He can choose where he wants to be. So,
how much do you think sorry to cut you off there, Kevin.
No, all good.
What do you think the 1,003-yard season did for Alec in his stock? Because I feel like we are so obsessed with, like, the 1,000-yard season for receivers, and him saying that he had at least one before he hits free agency. Is that a number that matters? Like, I'm serious. Like, he got, 160-something, I want to say, in that last game of the year to get over the top. But, like, is that a real thing? Like, would his stock be any different if he weren't a 1,000-yard receiver?
I think NFL teams would still covet the big play. Had he been ejected a quarter earlier down in Houston.
Like, if he's on 997, then
sorry, Alec.
1,003.
Again, Alec's agent will very quickly say, let me dial up my friend James Boyd, because he listed off the 9 quarterbacks my client has had to play with here over the last 4 years. And if that tells you something about what he has done and the numbers he's put up here. And again, the thing about Pierce, too, he's still young. He has no major injury history. And I would argue his best NFL season was just recently, where he started to do a little bit more than just the home run ability. So what a final few hours it is about to be here for the Colts.
I will say, though, to your point about him playing pretty well with 9 different quarterbacks, ironically, as I mentioned on social media last week, it's the instability at quarterback that has raised his stock among league circles, because they believe that he is more of like a plug-and-play player than perhaps, had he been with a more stable situation. If he had been with let's say, Josh Allen the last few years, you could excuse perhaps some of that and say, well, Josh Allen is so good, that's why he's so good. But no, his quarterback situation has been bad, and now he's going to cash in because of it, and ideally he'd like some stability.
Yeah, one more to sneak in here. You just got a text from listener Brand. He goes, who is sweating free agency more, Colts fans or the Colts front office? Fans, you're naturally sweating because there's the unknown, but I think it's actually a pretty good question, because a lot of what the Colts front office would like to do, there's a decent amount of it that is a bit out of their control right now.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of an unusual stance for the franchise and the organization to be in.
All right, coming up in a minute, more on the Horizon League. They've got their tournament ongoing right now, and you can hear some basketballs being bounced in the background here. We got a full day of
the Raiders
women's and men's basketball coming up today, and we'll tell you all about that next with the interim commissioner as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah. And Jill's
All right, it is We Grow Hair Indy. They are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. Boy, quite humbling when Matty Bone looked at me the other day and said, yeah, you look like it's COVID all over again. Well, pre-COVID, though, I definitely didn't have the hair that I do now. Thank you to the great folks at We Grow Hair Indy for that. Again, they are the gold standard for hair restoration, located up on the northwest side. That would be the Pyramids, building number 2. Before and after pictures and videos up on their website. One of the bigger questions I had going through the process is exactly what would the recovery look like. I was a little nervous about that, but honestly, that was a lot smoother than I thought. Definitely had to sleep upright for a few days. A tad uncomfortable there, but that was about it. So if you've had any of those questions, curiosities, contact them today. Again, it's WeGrowHairIndy.com. And up on the northwest side, that would be building number 2 at the Pyramids. A free evaluation awaits. Private evaluation, virtual evaluation, all of that available to you at We Grow Hair Indy, the gold standard for hair restoration.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning and welcome into a Monday in the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton, all by his lonesome back at the studio. You think that he's like the shoes are off, the feet are kicked back up, he's eating popcorn this morning?
We just hope that his pants are on. So that's usually what we say when Mark gets the studio to himself.
We are here at Corteva Coliseum for the Horizon League men's and women's basketball tournaments. They're already underway. They've been playing the tournament on and off for the last week or so, but they're here at Corteva Coliseum now, and they've got a couple of great games for the men tonight. Northern Kentucky and Wright State should be pretty well attended. Detroit, Robert Morris. We talked to Kelly Ford, the Associate Commissioner, about 30 minutes ago. And now we bring in the interim commissioner, Chris Newman, who joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. First of all, thanks for being here. And I was studying up on you this weekend. You're a former softball player at Valpo, right?
That's correct, yes.
Are you keeping an eye on the World Baseball Classic at all? You a big baseball fan, too?
I am. My husband and my son, they're big baseball fans, so I have no choice. But
What team do we like?
My husband and son are the Guardians, and I'm a Red Sox
Okay.
fan. So.
I thought that was a world baseball question. I'm like, America.
No.
I'm like,
no.
I was
regular.
Fine, yes,
yeah. So, one of them was paying attention
I was just
to what
making
was
sure.
going on.
Like, all right, just making sure.
This has got to be a whirlwind. You took over this job in December, just a couple of months ago, and bam. Now, you'd been with the conference for a while, chief operating officer and whatnot, but it's a much different role now, right?
It is. It's been a lot of fun. We have a great team. So it's been a fun last 4 months. I mean, the foundation that Julie Rowe-Lash, our former commissioner, set, I'm just continuing it on until our new commissioner, Jill Bodensteiner, starts here mid-April. She's great.
Chris, this is obviously a beautiful complex. Was here last year for the games, and certainly a great building. We talked with Kelly about adding the extra day. I kind of wanted to go in a different direction, though, from a conference standpoint. You know, in our own little kind of Midwest bubble, if you look at the MAC, a lot of football schools. You guys aren't that. Can you explain maybe for our audience the lifeblood of what basketball means to your conference, whereas some other conferences they might have the benefit of football?
Yeah, Kevin, it's a great question. I mean, we are basketball through and through. I mean, it's basketball excellence. That's the driver for our campuses. Some of our campuses do sponsor football, but we really support them in their basketball efforts, whether it's non-league scheduling, strategic league scheduling, but then building this community tournament is really important to our league.
So we saw the tournament get expanded a couple days this year. What was the idea behind that, and maybe giving us a little bit more of that basketball fix?
Yeah, so I think our big goals are really building this long-term community event here in the Indianapolis and surrounding community is huge, and then building that basketball excellence. We know that all teams coming to one site really drives home that basketball excellence piece versus being on a campus site for the championship. So bringing our tournament 7 years ago to the Corteva Coliseum was a huge move for our league, and the goal has really been to build the number of teams that come here and advance and play here. So this year, excited, we were able to have 5 men's teams, 5 women's teams, and in the future, looking forward to bringing more teams and more days.
Yeah, and like I said, tonight it's going to be rocking. I think you'll probably have a good crowd with Northern Kentucky and Wright State. Not too far away, really, for either school, but certainly for Northern Kentucky. And they like playing against each other, don't they?
They do. It's a great rivalry. We're really pumped that it's going to be the first game of our men's semifinals tonight. They've played together against each other in this championship before, so it is a great rivalry. I don't know if you guys saw their last regular season game where they played against each other. Came down to the last 10 seconds, so this is going to be a great one tonight.
If you hear the balls bouncing in the background, it is Wright State right now. A little shoot around for them. Again, the women's semifinals, noon and 2:30, and then tonight you'll get both of that from a men's standpoint. We spoke a little bit earlier in the show about Robert Morris giving Alabama everything they could handle last year in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we had Greg Gampy on here at Media Day a couple of years ago. What they did against Kentucky in the tournament is one of the more beloved Indiana stories, I think, given that it was Kentucky who was beat. When you think about what that meant to your conference, can you maybe put that into terms, like when a team from a mid-major conference upsets a high major, whether it's dollars and cents, whether it's eyeballs, what did that mean to the Horizon League?
Oh, I mean, it's a value that you can't pay for. I mean, they had a 2-hour commercial on CBS during prime time playing one of the biggest blue bloods there is in men's basketball. So not only for them from a viewership side to put Oakland on the map and what that meant for that university, their enrollment went up, their apparel. I think they had managers selling T-shirts because everybody wanted to support Oakland at those first-round sites. Applications, enrollment driver, their website crashed. Not that that's a great thing, but I think it just showed the excitement and wanting to know who Oakland University was, and it was incredible.
Obviously, a lot of business to take care of in the next 24 hours, 36 hours or so. But moving forward, you mentioned you're getting a new commissioner later on this spring. Business-wise, what's next for the Horizon League? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I think continuing our basketball strategy and excellence is going to be really important. But I also think, too, Jill's going to come in and really help us navigate this national landscape that's happening. It's dynamic. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities with it. So there's no one better positioned to help lead our league through this.
When you look at it from an NIL standpoint, from the players might leave after a year standpoint, what are you trying to sell to, players about playing in the Horizon League?
I think the Horizon League, our goal is to really build student athletes for life. The opportunities and experiences they get in our league are ever-changing. The memories they make are incredible, and we really strive to be on the front end to helping our schools work through, the daily NIL. They're on the front lines of it, so how can we help support them as they're looking to retain student athletes and coaches and keeping them in our league?
All right, so now I got a question that's kind of off the beaten path, but Women's History Month, how did you even get into this space? I mean, there's a lot of, obviously, it's a male-dominated field, to be quite honest with you. So did you know you'd be doing this, and what would you say to your 10-year-old self about the job you have now?
Yeah, I mean, this is really cool. If you can see her, you can be her. I think for me, I was a former student athlete, played a few sports in high school, played softball in college at Valparaiso. So to be able to work in the college athletic space and give back to something that gave me so much is really important. Our student athletes in our league are our why. So for us, every day that we make decisions, it's the impact that they get to experience and the major opportunities we get to provide them. It's really humbling and really cool.
Now, Chris, I'm trying to do the math in my head. I don't believe. Did you overlap with Bryce Drew in that Valpo team?
I did not. He wasn't. He was a coach when I was a student athlete there, and then he was a coach when I worked at the league office when they were in the league.
Sure.
And we're going to forgive you for being a Cathedral grad.
Whoa.
I mean, come on.
Now.
What the hell?
I was about to say, hey, if y'all want to jump him, I'll get out the way.
I might be pushing Jeff over section 206 up here.
No,
we're at.
A little behind the scenes right before the interview started. Knowing that the Cathedral High School is a link between you guys, you kind of shared. Now, when were you there? Who'd you go to school with? My brother was here then. You were there then. It's always, I'm always amazed, in all seriousness, Kevin, how cool sports is. It's just such a small world, and it feels like no matter if you've been in sports for a while, at whatever, whether you're a player or now a commissioner or a broadcaster or whatever it happens to be, it feels like you're never more than 1 or 2 degrees of separation removed from anybody. Now, that's one of the things I love about sports, the community that it is.
Agree. It's a great connector of people, too. I totally agree.
It's a lot of fun. So
I don't know. I think he's trying to buddy y'all up, man. He was a little jealousy there for a second there.
That was a pathetic attempt at trying to get it back there. Speaking of local connections, as we look out here at Wright State, number 55, Michael Cooper. For those that will be in the building tonight, you may recall him last year in the 4A state title.
I saw him.
Jeffersonville beating Fishers with Trey Singleton, of course, but Michael Cooper's had a great year for the Raiders. So, again, 7 o'clock tonight, some local connections with the number 1 seed, the Wright State Raiders.
All right, before we send you off to a busy day, anything else we need to know?
No, I think other than incredible basketball games today, we've got 4 of them starting at noon. Men's start at 7 tonight. We have some amplifying events, too. Vallejo Fan Zone, feel free to hit it in between the games today and tomorrow. And then we have our Anthem School Day tomorrow at noon for our Women's Championship. It's going to be great. And then we have our KeyBank International Women's Day amplifying event. A Power Pack panel of Indy women leaders going to lead that at 5:30. Hope you can make it before you come to our Men's Championship tomorrow night at 7.
Chris Newman, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good
I
luck
really
this
appreciate
baseball
it.
season.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
We'll see how it goes. All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you can hear the basketballs on the floor, and yeah, you keep taking me back to that 4A final game last year. Terrific game, by the way.
Epic game, yeah. Michael Cooper, again, has had a great year, the 6'3" guard out of Jeffersonville. By the way, I went to that Vallejo fan event right across the street, right across the street here on the fairgrounds, of course. Went to it last year. It's a great little stop before you pop over here to Corteva Coliseum. So, the Horizon League, obviously the Oakland team is the one that we all talk about. But, I remember watching the Robert Morris Alabama game last year, the 2:15, and Robert Morris, I think, maybe even had Alabama down at halftime, and certainly was a great game, deep into that 40-minute affair. So, fun Monday, Tuesday here inside of the great State Fairgrounds in Corteva Coliseum.
All right, and of course we'll be keeping an eye all day long on the NFL transaction wires. Not that anything will be official today. You could make a trade today, I suppose, but not that you can make anything official until Wednesday. In fact, even the trades don't become official until Wednesday, do they?
Exactly.
All right, but you can agree to terms. That's the phrase you'll be hearing all day long, agree to terms. And we just hope that by the end of the day, Alec Pierce has agreed to terms, whatever those terms are, with the Indianapolis Colts, Kevin.
James, we got a few questions about this today. Why didn't the Colts extend Alec Pierce before the start of the season? When you see that question pop up, I'm sure you've gotten it as well here over the last week or so. What have been kind of your thoughts about that? Obviously, we saw the extension for Bernhard Raimann, but nothing, of course, with Pierce.
I think a lot of it had to do with the lack of production. I mean, he was an ascending player already, but it wasn't like he was the Alec Pierce that he is now. You would have been giving him a contract a lot more based off projection than production. Now, I did say last year in my 10-step Colts offseason plan, which was obviously perfect, that they should have extended him. And my reasoning was, if you took a swing on Alec Pierce, let's say, and you offered him, I don't know, $18 million a year, and he signs it, and maybe he isn't more than just the deep threat that he was coming into this year, that's an easier contract to maybe swallow and deal with than had he gets to this point and he's balling, and now you can't really afford him perhaps. So I get it. Hindsight's 20/20, but I do think that the Colts were maybe more hesitant than they should have been because he was still rather unproven.
Yeah, I think we can play this game where, like, everything that Chris Ballard does or doesn't do, people just hate.
Yeah.
And
I don't hate that decision, though, to be clear.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, I guess. Like, I choose to evaluate each decision individually. I mean, hell, I thought Ballard should have been fired multiple years ago, so I guess if you want my overall stance on him as a GM, that's where it is. But, again, I'm going to choose to evaluate each and every move individually, and I can get why there would have been some hesitancy with Pierce, and also I don't know if it's slam dunk that the Pierce camp would have signed it either. I think there's an element of, hey, let's bet on ourselves.
And keep in mind, A.D. Mitchell was still here, and at that time, a big part of your future.
Right. So I just don't think it was that cut and dry. To me, Bernhard Raimann, if you want to compare the two, same draft class, you know, he had proven himself a little bit more over a multi-year basis than Alec Pierce had. And there was a thought leading into this year where I was a little uncertain if you should give anybody any extensions because the regime might change.
Right.
Now, obviously, the regime didn't change. Now, Raimann, I do think is kind of an outlier in that he plays such an important position. I don't care if it's, you know, whatever, Jeff or Matty Bowen being the Colts GM. You want Bernhard Raimann to be there. So I think it's a little hindsight 20/20, I guess, to play that game.
It's going to be an interesting day, but, you know, one of the things that a lot of times general managers and team officials have always told me that you don't want to make decisions too early, getting back to your question about Alec Pierce, but also it feels like you don't want to make them too late at this point in time too. So where's that sweet spot?
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in.
Because you want you want as much information as possible before you make a deal.
Yeah, and this from Jamie, another factor perhaps is, are we overlooking the question is, do we think Pierce's concussions are being factored in? I do believe Alec has had 3 concussions, if I'm not mistaken, in 4 years. So I don't think that that's a huge injury concern because he's been pretty durable. He hasn't had, like, the concussions to the extent of Travaris Ward where it was back-to-back-to-back and he's missed a ton of time, but that is something that's kind of popped up on his resume, and it probably is going to be factored in, but I would venture to say the yards per catch and leading the league in that category for the second straight year is probably a bigger factor.
Second straight year of averaging better than 20 yards a reception. Kevin, that's insane to average 20 yards a reception when you start talking about more than 50 receptions in a season.
Well, the fun fact is he's never had 50 receptions in a season, has he? I think his career high this past season was 47.
Yeah.
So,
which is crazy.
Dan Orlovsky just tweeted, he goes, I want the Patriots or the Giants to sign Alec Pierce. I will be fascinated to see how Pierce comes to this decision. You know, just to reiterate, you know, all morning long, I do think he is a huge believer in Daniel Jones. Much bigger believer in Daniel Jones than I think people fully realize or want to admit, even Colts fans. You know, I don't think are anywhere near as big of believers in Daniel Jones as Pierce is. So, like, look at those two quarterbacks. That's what, Drake May and Jackson Dart?
Yeah.
I don't see Pierce. Let's just play this out. Let's say the Giants offer Pierce $33 million a year. The Colts offer Pierce $30 million a year. I don't think in Pierce's eyes $3 million annually is worth Jackson Dart over Daniel Jones. Now, again, to some people, they say, hey, Jackson Dart's, young and he's budding and, this and that, and he's going to be a big-time player. I just don't think Pierce looks at it that way. Again, we'll obviously see when the decision comes final and hear the numbers on what he gets and what the Colts have offered and all of that. But, boy, what a wild Monday morning here and what these final few hours are going to be about.
Ryan from Pendleton says it's a complete organizational failure with how they're handling Pierce and Jones. I know Pierce wants a stable quarterback situation, but that doesn't mean Jones is it. In my opinion, they should have franchise tagged Pierce and gone after Malik Willis or Kyler Murray.
I'm not hitching my wagon to Malik Willis at all, honestly. I know that he's been one of the hotter names, but half a good season for him as well, I would argue, last year, or kind of like a spot starter. So I think a lot of times when it comes down to finances, perhaps that is why you want to pursue Kyler Murray, but Malik Willis is supposed to get a decent amount too, and I would not want him over Daniel Jones, honestly.
Yeah, John pointing out, too, that $3 million more in New York, New Jersey, or maybe even New England is $3 million. Is it really $3 million more when you factor in all the taxes you have to pay?
Well,
in places
people don't
like
care
that.
about that. That is a point that I'm dead serious on this. That is a point that we love to make on the radio, and I get it. We all have. Well, I can't say we all. I have a job that's not real, but we have real bills and maybe not the same level of financial freedom as those players. I can tell you with 100% certainty that is not going to be a factor for Alec Pierce.
I think that states like Florida and Texas, certainly in the NBA, have taken advantage of that at times because some of those deals, it's a matter of $10, $15, $20 million in taxes.
Well, tell that to Miami Heat, who never get anybody when it comes to free agency as of late.
All right, let's check things down, and we'll talk about all of this continuing throughout the day.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
All right, I'll have a little bit of news for you. The latest Joe Lunardi bracketology is out, and first four out, the first team out, the Indiana Hoosiers at this point in time. Kevin, what will it take for them to play themselves into the NCAA tournament?
Well, you're going to have to win at least 2 games in Chicago. So if you want to play it out by seed, that would be beating the nemesis that is Chris Collins and Northwestern and then Purdue. That's what the seeding would look like. And then you got to hope for no bid stealing. You got to hope for no NC State type runs. When you say bid stealing, you look at St. Louis. You want them to win their conference. If you're an Indiana fan right now, you are a massive Miami, Ohio fan. You want Miami, Ohio to win the MAC. You want Gonzaga and St. Mary's to win the semifinal games tonight out there in the West Coast Conference. So they, one of them would get the automatic bid. So, that's what has been a huge difference these last 2 years. Remember, last year, North Carolina got in with a very similar resume to Indiana, the lack of the quad 1 wins. They got in because we had, virtually no bid stealing, whereas the Indiana State team doesn't get in 2 years ago, and we had bid stealing galore. So Indiana's got to do their own stuff in Chicago, which they never really have done in the Big Ten tournament, but they also need to make sure you have a quiet week in the bid stealing department.
Lunardi has Purdue maintaining a 3 seed, but this time he's got them in Philadelphia to start things out. So that's changed just a little bit, and we'll keep an eye on all that all week long as the Big Ten tournament starts this week. Indiana will play Wednesday night against the winner of Penn State and Northwestern. And Northwestern's been troublesome for both Purdue and Indiana lately, it seems like.
Yeah, I would say Chris Collins has been Indiana's daddy.
Man. All right, we'll keep an eye on all of that for you. NBA last night, Pacers lose their 9th straight. Scoot Henderson scored 28 for the Trailblazers, a season high for him. They've lost their last 6 games, the Pacers have, by an average of 20 points. Pascal Siakam did lead the way again with 22 points. Jay Huff had 5 blocked shots. They will wrap up that 4-game road trip Tuesday at Sacramento, but Indiana's also played their guys the last couple of games too, Kevin. They haven't sat a lot of folks out as they've been playing every other day on this trip.
Yeah, Siakam, Nemhard, Neesmith, those guys have played. Late last night, Jarris Walker and TJ McConnell both got a little banged up. So I think it was another hamstring for TJ, which he's battled this season. So we could be looking at some absences. And, now I think the question becomes, once they return home, does Ivica Zubac play? I mean, we're what, a month left in the regular season? Is that right?
Yeah, I think you set the over-under at 9.5 at first. Might be dropping to 5.5?
I think I started it at 10.5 and then quickly thought out loud, I'm like, that's too high. Now I'm going to 5.5, and now I'm like, oh boy, how many games are left? 15? Something like that? 18?
Well, we'll see what the Pacers do. By the way, Tankathon, you ready for today's Tankathon?
I am ready.
Go to tankathon.com. Are you ready, Kevin? See what's going on with Tankathon?
I've been waiting all morning for it.
All right. Right now, the 2026 NBA Draft Lottery Simulator, latest one. Sacramento number 1, Indiana number 2, followed by Washington and Brooklyn. So we'll do another one tomorrow and see how that goes. Someone did one yesterday, though, where the Pacers fell all the way down to about the last spot they could get, and someone had noted if that's the case, you've basically lost out on maybe a generational talent for Ivica Zubac. So we'll see what happens when it's all.
Let's also be clear about generational talents. Wemby is that.
Yeah.
The guys in this class are not.
Very good players. That we know of yet.
That I know of right now, today.
So you're saying no shot?
No shot of them ever touching what Wemby is doing. No. Generational? Let's watch it a generation.
I got you.
I'm just saying, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit. But I do hope, obviously, the Pacers end up with a top 4 pick to get a very good player.
All right. We can also tell you if you want to thinking about maybe some good news on the Achilles rupture repair. Jason Tatum has returned to the Celtics. Just 9 months after his injury?
Yeah, I want to say it was less than 10 months. He looks like Jason Tatum. So, yeah, very encouraging if you're thinking of Halliburton having a similar return at the beginning of next season.
Yeah, beat the Cavaliers 109-98 last night. He had 20 points, his second game back from that injury. You hear a buzzer here. We're at Corteva Coliseum getting ready for the Horizon League men's and women's basketball tournament semifinals today. Tonight for the men, Northern Kentucky takes on Wright State. Detroit will go up against Robert Morris. So we've got that going on. And anything else you guys want to throw in right now before we head to break and get to the GOATs of the week?
Yeah, again, a hat tip to Ryan Kelly announcing his retirement on Friday there. Certainly what he went through off the field. Unfortunately, it was very well documented here. And, hopefully him and his wife, Emma, maybe call Indy home. They got a couple young kids, and played in Minnesota for that year, but always appreciated his candor and, really provided great stability at a position that was a revolving door in terms of center for Andrew Luck there. It was kind of weird how Ryan Kelly all of a sudden secured that spot for years to come, and then quarterback ended up being the new revolving door position, under his watch, if you will. So great career for Ryan Kelly, and hat tip to him.
All right, coming up in a moment, GOATs of the Week as we get ready to go for the Horizon League basketball tournaments live on site at the Corteva Coliseum in Indianapolis on the grounds of the State Fairgrounds. So that's what's going on today. We'll tell you more about who had a great week, who had a tough week next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
They get it down left side, Wilburn. Outside they go, and they got the jumper up and good by Weidman. He's the key right now.
He's the key man. He can shoot the 15, 16-foot shot. He can also post up. Tech started man-to-man, and Lake Central's man-to-man.
And the guy to look for Tech is that man right there, Trey Lyles. Lyles, of course, headed to the University of Kentucky. He was the state's Gatorade Player of the Year, 3-time City Player of the Year. Right now, Dave Miloshik's in a bit of a hustle as they get inside, and Lyles slams one home. Dropped off, and a slam.
Those are two Division I dunks right there
Yes,
for
sir.
Weidman and Lyles. That's big-time dunks.
Oh, boy, that was a good one back in 2014. Tech 63, Lake Central 59. And those two big guys, Trey Lyles, of course, very nice NBA career, cashing checks. And Tyler Weidman turned out to be a nice player for the Butler Bulldogs. They won an NCAA tournament game, if I'm not mistaken, I believe in all 4 of his seasons there on 49th Street. And we are moving on to the regional round here. Just to remind everybody, we just have one game in the regional round. So coming up Saturday, you got various sites all around locally. Southport, of course, will be a popular one. Mount Vernon and Pike, that epic regular season game. We'll have a round 2 with Luke Ertl facing the Pike Red Devils. Out in Newcastle, you'll have Carmel taking on Fort Wayne Snyder there. Shout out to Decatur Central. Won their first sectional in a long, long time. They got LC. I think maybe a little bit of an upset. LC over LN in that one. So we have plenty of regional action this weekend. For tip times, locations, head to ihsaa.org. There's nothing like an IHSAA state tournament game in person. Again, head to ihsaa.org right now for regional tip times and schedules.
Coming out, he's 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 coming out. It's there.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning and welcome into a Monday, and March Madness officially underway. We've had several conference tournaments and champions already. A handful of teams have already punched their ticket to the big dance. And of course, we are live this morning from Corteva Coliseum, State Fairgrounds, and later on tonight, a couple of games in semifinal action here for the Horizon League. Northern Kentucky will take on Wright State. Detroit takes on Robert Morris. We also have a busy day of watching the wires and the news feeds to see what's going to happen in the National Football League. Legal tampering. You can agree to terms today, James Boyd. Can't sign guys yet. You can make deals and you can sign. You can't really sign things, but you can agree to terms.
Yep, we got about 2.5 hours before that is possible.
All right. Having said that, Mark Dykton, do we have
I think we got a couple trades we should probably mention before we get to our goats of the week. Adam Schefter reporting Minka Fitzpatrick off to the New York Jets. Is that an intra-division trade? Dolphins to Jets there. We've seen the Dolphins totally revamp so much of their roster with a new GM and a new head coach there. So Minka Fitzpatrick off to the Jets. And the other item of note, I believe Diana Rossini, James, your colleague, just had Rashawn Gary, Green Bay Packers defensive end, going to the Cowboys. So Green Bay, of course, sent defensive tackle and Colby Wooden here to the Colts in the Zaire Franklin trade, and now you have Rashawn Gary to the Cowboys. So
I don't have the patience to jack with you today.
There's a Micah Parsons joke in there somewhere, right?
Minka?
There has to be. I mean, even the reports about them being interested in Max Crosby, and it's like, well, you had Micah Parsons, who's better than Max Crosby and younger. So shout out to Jerry for keeping things interesting in Dallas, even though they're never actually winning anything.
So we're off and running already on this Monday morning. How about that?
Yeah, well, we knew some stuff had to go down today, and I'm sure some more fireworks will happen later.
All right, Mark Dykton, we have some business to take care of on this Monday.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
Kevin Bowen, we're going to let you lead off on this Monday today. Make sure you get your guys in right now. Who is your – what do you want to start? Positive, negative? Where do you want to go?
We'll go positive here
right.
on this Monday. And just to twist the knife into Mark Dykton because he hates the World Baseball Classic for some reason, my GOAT of the weekend, did you guys see – say it again, Mark?
I said lies. You're spreading lies.
I couldn't hear him over the sound of treason.
No. A hater of the World Baseball Classic. Shout out Joseph Contreras, the 17-year-old pitcher who got Aaron Judge to ground into a double play during the Team USA game against, I think it was Brazil, over the weekend there. Contreras, of course, you know that last name from his father. He is a 17-year-old high school pitcher that is committed to Vanderbilt. Can you imagine? Just your local high school pitcher going up against Aaron Judge in the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if you guys have seen the Dominican Republic games. The atmospheres look absolutely rocking. I am all in on the World Baseball Classic and some of the storylines that we're getting here, and I cannot wait for the knockout stage coming up here starting next week.
I like that one. James Boyd, where are you at this week?
Ben Brimmer is my positive GOAT of the week. Shout out to the Carmel player for knocking down the game-winning three in an epic game, probably one of the best high school games I've ever seen in my life. They knock off previously undefeated Fishers to advance to regionals where they will play, I believe, Fort Wayne Snyder this upcoming Saturday at Newcastle. So quite the shot. He was pretty hyped up. Seems like a very well-spoken kid, and I was happy for Carmel. But also, again, you don't get the underdog and David moments if there's no Goliath. So shout out to Fishers as well for being the juggernaut they've been over the last few years.
All right, Mark Dykton, who's your positive GOAT of the week?
Ryan Kelly, 10 years in the NFL, decade-long career. One of my favorite guys we've had on this radio station because he never BS'd us. Always gave it to us straight. More than earned his retirement at 32 years old. Wish him the best and hope we can get him on the show post-NFL career. But hat tip to Ryan Kelly. Hell of a career.
Yeah. I thought about Ryan Kelly. He was on my final short list.
I thought Mark said Brian Kelly to try and get back at me. I was like, well, I guess I kind of respect that, Mark.
I'm a good person. I wouldn't do that to you.
No, I like that. And also, you brought up World Baseball Classic. For a moment, I thought, I don't know if you guys saw the ump cam shot of Kyle Schwarber going fifth deck on a home run this past weekend. That was pretty cool. But I decided to go with Team Penske, who dominated in Phoenix over the weekend, sweeping both major events. They got an IndyCar win by Joseph Newgarden on Saturday, and then Ryan Blaney got a win for Penske on Sunday. They needed that. It's been a rough go for Penske. They got that one this weekend.
My negative GOAT of the week, I hate that we have now had this a couple of years in the mid-major scene. And I love, like right now we are here at the Horizon League semifinal day. Detroit right now is taking part in their shoot-around. So tomorrow, inside of this building at 7 o'clock, we will crown a member of the NCAA tournament. And we saw yesterday how electric those moments are for so many of these small school teams, universities, etc. Tomorrow night we get Mercyhurst against Long Island, okay? We already know that Mercyhurst is ineligible for the NCAA tournament. Long Island, by winning their semifinal game, is through to the NCAA championship because we have a rule that when you go from D2 to D1, you're ineligible for the Division I tournament for 4 years. Those teams, in my opinion, they either A, shouldn't be allowed to play in the conference tournament because it ruins the conference tournament and the championship games, or B, there should be a rule if you win your conference tournament, it overrides. the 4-year, no NCAA
I
tournament
agree.
berth you are allowed to get. Because 7 o'clock, ESPN2 tomorrow night, we're watching a meaningless basketball game. So, like, Long Island loses, and then do they still celebrate? Do they get to cut down the nets? Do they get, like, the NCAA tournament plaque?
Personally, I would still hold up my number one finger, win or loss.
Gosh, I'm going middle finger to that rule. That's the one finger I'm holding up to that rule.
All right. James Boyd, who's your bad good of the week?
My bad go to the week. Shout out to the region. You know I love you all in the 219, but I saw a sectional championship score that looked like it was from the James Naismith days of Peach Baskets. Hanover Central wins a sectional title. They're back-to-back sectional champs, 18-13 over Lowell. That's horrendous basketball.
I had to rub my eyes when I saw
And from what
that
I
score.
understand, I was doing some digging on this. Apparently, they were shooting and then just not making shots. So whatever the reason, whether you held the ball, whether you shot the ball and missed, I think if you score 18 points and win a championship and hold a trophy, both teams should be relegated out of the tournament. That's terrible. I'm sorry.
You're not
what are we
wrong.
doing? I'm serious. That is pathetic.
I was texted one of my former students, Mason Williams. He was covering that
Yeah.
that game. I was like, dude, was this just like an outright hold of the ball, like 3 or 4 minutes of holding the basketball? He said it wasn't really that. He said it was more of just like a massive passive approach to passing the ball around the perimeter like none other and a lot of missed shots. But he said there really weren't that many shot attempts, period, in the game.
I'm shocked. I did not realize that with only 18 points on the scoreboard as a winner.
Again, sometimes when you get those scores, it's like we straight up held the ball, like the Greg Oden days of, we're going to hold the ball for 3 or 4 minutes.
Now, here's my question. Is there really any difference between holding it and passing it around the perimeter?
Well,
no, there's not.
There's something about when you literally go ball in the hip out by the midcourt
4
line
corners.
that I think is just disgusting.
KB, I think we're arguing about semantics, brother. If you just pass it back and forth from one side of the court to the other, hoping that someone will make a defensive mistake, I mean, what are we talking about here? So, again, I'm irritated by that. I'm serious. I think that both coaches should be ashamed of themselves. Play basketball.
All right, Mark Dykton, who are you mad at this week?
I'm mad at home ownership because all day yesterday I was spending time getting water out of my crawl space, 3 inches of water to be exact. So got some
You
plumbing
need
issues
Michaelis,
going
Mark.
on. Not great, not fun. So that sucked. That was my whole Sunday, was just going to the hardware store trying to buy stuff to work. And I've got plumbers coming over later today. So going to be probably seeing some dollars leave the bank account. And, not fun. Not fun at all.
Ask Alec for a loan.
You need the Michaelis team, Mark. You need that restoration company helping you out.
Somebody, anybody, help me out.
Man. We're for mine, we're going to Brazil. Follow me along on this. Cruzeiro got a 1-0 win over Atletico MG in Sunday's Mineiro Championship final. But a minute into stoppage time, the goalkeeper for Atletico MG didn't like the way something was happening in front of him, so he actually tackled the guy and was holding him down with his knee. Benches cleared. Things happened. 23 guys got thrown out of this game, Kevin. But my favorite guy that got thrown out of the game, his name is Hulk. He was thrown out because he was the one guy that was actually just actively looking for people to punch. And his name is Hulk. And if you look at the picture of this guy, he looks like a Hulk on a soccer field, doesn't he?
This sounds epic. This sounds like it should have been the great go to the weekend.
I don't know. 39 years, Hulk, 39 years old, who's been with Atletico MG since 2021, attempting to punch opposing players. There is the 23-person thrown out of a match brawl. That's my bad go to the week.
So what's the bad aspect of that? Sportsmanship or something?
Yes, you got 23 guys just going for it. It's a Donnybrook. It's who knows.
What do I always say, KB? Sportsmanship is for losers and kids.
How tall do you guys think that Detroit kid is there, right there at midcourt?
5'8".
Man.
The guard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to look up their roster. It's
Must
one of
be
the
pretty good, though.
Smaller, players I've seen.
All right. That's what's going on. Coming up in a moment, we will put a big bow on this show, and I'll explain to James why it's not good to be fighting in the middle of games.
Okay.
We'll do that next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Obviously, a very busy day coming your way in the National Football League. We wait to see what the Colts will do with Alec Pierce, or what he'll do with the Colts, maybe is a better way to say it. We wait to see what the Colts can do with Daniel Jones. They've already put a transition tag on him. That means that if that stays the same, he'd make about $38 million this coming year. But, of course, they continue to try and work towards a longer-term, multi-year deal, probably worth more money for Daniel Jones. And if you believe a report that came out late last night, Daniel Jones and his camp could be looking at $50 million a year. Is kind of what they're asking for at this point in time.
Boy, it seems ridiculous. Just, yeah, I mean, I get the quarterback market is bleak, but gosh, for a guy that's never stayed healthy in his career.
Man, it's a lot of
well,
money.
why not? Like, as insane as that sounds on face value,
what are the Colts
why
been
not?
doing? Yeah.
Like if I'm not
Right,
saying
I'm saying it's more of insane for a team to offer that or meet that than it is for Daniel Jones's camp to. Well, I think it's insane for Daniel Jones's camp to ask for it as well.
Yeah, but my whole point is, you can ask for anything, and
sure,
you're always going to
sure.
counter.
Sure.
And that you're not going to come out there with like. I mean, Kevin, when you're in negotiations like he is, and he has all this leverage, I would do just like him and throw out a crazy number if this report is true.
Which, again, he has leverage in Indy, but I would argue how much leverage does he have elsewhere given the injury history?
Yeah, but
I mean,
it's usually somewhere meet in the middle. Like let's say the coach is saying, well, we give you what, 3 for 100. Well, no, I want 3 for 150. Well, neither one of you all are gonna like that number, so let's meet somewhere in the middle, which is still probably going to be higher than 38. My point is the Colts have given themselves 0 options, 0 plan Bs, and so it's him or bust. That's what they've told us at least. Now, do I agree with that? Probably not. I think at some point you have to look at pivoting, but once you put the tag on him, you basically were at the mercy of trying to match whatever offer he might get. And if you don't match it, if he just says, well, I'll just play on the tag, which I think will be dumb as well because he wants long-term security, let's just say he does, then what? Like, you've really put yourself in quite the position that is not beneficial towards your other free agency moves.
Yeah. Here's something interesting, too. We saw you had the breaking news earlier. The Dolphins have officially said they're moving on from Tua Tagovailoa. Here's the crazy part, though. They're walking away. He's leaving $99 million of dead cap money to that team over the next 2 years. That's a record. They decided to move on from a guy he's had all kinds of concussions. We know that. 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year. But they decided to move on from him as they go through their rebuild. That's not an insignificant sum, Kevin. $99 million of dead cap money.
It's like some Russell Wilson Broncos stuff, right?
It's as bad. How do you get over that?
Well, ask Denver.
Well, they got lucky. They got a Bo Nix who's I watch those games every week, and I'm happy that Bo Nix is doing well. But he never shows up until there's about 8 minutes to go in the game.
Well,
I don't think that it's lucky either, though.
Denver,
They
to me, I think it's a little bit short-sighted to call it lucky. First off,
I say that as a fan.
Put Bo next to the side, their defense. I mean, that's why they were in the playoffs. That's not luck. That's great draft picks. That's great roster retention. That's great free agency. By the way, I just chatted with the State Fairgrounds worker during the segment. Beautiful arena here, the Corteva Coliseum, if you've never been. They said they're actually just planning to add an addition on the other side of it once they saw the bricks you two were shooting at 6:50 this morning.
I wasn't shooting bricks, was I, James? I was hitting some shots.
I'll speak for myself. I was shooting bricks. Jeff, you can.
I was okay. I didn't mind the way things are going this morning.
They said they just drew up the blueprint actually at their 7 a.m. meeting once they saw you two out there.
Well, in fairness, I got my eye gouged out by JMV yesterday. He couldn't guard me. So crossover, go to the basket. Get the old finger in the eye. Scratch my contact
Jeremy
out.
Fears action from JMV?
Yeah, a little Jeremy Fears action. He's a dirty player.
Oh, he wrote back to you and said you ran into his finger.
Yeah, like I'll believe that. I couldn't see. Luckily, he did help me find my contact on the ground. I told him if I get pink eye, it's because of him.
Kevin, what are we talking about tomorrow morning?
You know, I'm not sure I've sat here with more unknown. Like, I think I pretty much – said it last week. I had a feeling Zaire Franklin wouldn't be back with the Colts. Like, there are some things you have good feelings on. Coming. I'll speak for myself. I know how James feels. I really am very up in the air on what will happen on Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce. Now, I do a lot of people I think are in the camp of like Pierce is 1,000% gone. I'm not in that camp.
Me either.
But man, I mean, 2 hours away now from this window opening up, I really don't have a great conviction on exactly how all of this is going to play out. I think you could see several scenarios, James. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. If Daniel Jones wants to, his camp could make the Colts wait a little bit. We're going to wait for the offer sheets. And now what does that do to all the dominoes? What does that do to Alec Pierce and his decision? Because the Colts still have to create a stable quarterback environment, right? The Colts still have to sign Daniel Jones long term. In Alec Pierce's eyes, that is stable. There are some other, like New England, that's been one of the more popular teams I mentioned with Alec Pierce. They're already stable at quarterback. So if they come out at 12:01 today and say, hey, Alec Pierce, here's whatever, $32 million annually, and here's Drake May, does he take it? Or does he wait and give the Colts a chance to prove that they can create something? That, to me, is just fascinating. Wildly entertaining, wildly nerve-wracking, but fascinating.
It's going to be beyond fascinating to see how this all works out, and we'll see, does Chris Ballard have a couple of rabbits to pull out of his hat between now and the end of this week? That's the other thing we're looking at.
I wouldn't be too optimistic in that if I were a Colts fan, so I understand their frustration.
Those rabbits got a long leash if it's anything like the leash Ballard's got with that organization.
I'll tell you what. So, KB, you talked about our jumpers. Can we see yours? That's the rule. That's the rule.
Should I go shoot down there with the Detroit Mercy team?
Yeah, man.
The Detroit Titans, right?
Yeah. They probably look at you and say, all right, somebody get this, wanderer off the court.
Tell you what, they got some dudes here in the big man side of the floor that look like they'd throw my shot all the way to 30th and Meridian.
Yeah, those some big dudes. It's also funny seeing, like, the guard you pointed out.
He is 5'8", by the way, Lance.
Yeah. And then we have the big guy. He looks like he's 7 feet. So.
Well, I love that Lance is now down here with the big guys.
Well, yeah, little mouse in the house action. That's all that is.
Anybody coming back for these games tonight?
I think so. Last year I brought Rosie, a buddy of mine, and his daughter. We came to the 7 o'clock game. So, again, if you've never been to Corteva Coliseum, it's a great venue. I mentioned the Fan Fest right across the street here at the State Fairgrounds. That was fun to stop in before things got underway. So noon and 2:30 for the women's games today, 7 and 9:30 for the men's games. Tomorrow the women will crown an NCAA tournament berth at noon, and the men will have their game at 7 o'clock right here at the State Fairgrounds.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on all that stuff throughout the day, and, of course, keep it tuned here to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan all day long for the very latest in legal tampering day in the National Football League. Teams can certainly make offers to folks. Trades can be agreed to. Nobody can sign anything until Wednesday. But listen for Jake from noon to 3 today. He'll be on live. Of course, ESPN will take care of you up until noon, between now and noon, and then JMV comes your way to break it all down for you at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Looking forward to seeing what the Colts do and what the rest of the league does over the course of the afternoon. Mark Dykton, great job all by yourself back there at the studios today. I'm sure you're doing okay. Have a good one. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning bright and early at 7 a.m.